Chapter 145. Xing Hui had already learned about the standards of the celestial vault from Nalan Fei. He nodded slightly and released a wisp of spiritual force to form an imprint. I await your arrival, Purple Sky Enlightened Master. The Purple Sky Enlightened Master sensed Xing Hui's spiritual imprint carefully. Please wait a moment. About half an hour later, she opened her eyes again. Your Excellency Pak Hui, I'm heading over. Almost at the same time, a mysterious force suddenly descended from the sky in the courtyard of the city lord's mansion. It swept through the heaven and earth Yuan Qi and began to condense into a human form in the courtyard. Not long after, it was 80% similar to the Purple Sky Enlightened Master in the Chaos Temple, but it was obvious that it was an incarnation that was gradually taking shape. Although the eastern wilderness isn't the furthest continent from the infinite wilderness, it's still tens of millions of miles away. The incarnation isn't condensed enough. The Purple Sky Enlightened Master moved a little after descending. Xing Hui nodded slightly at the Purple Sky Enlightened Master. He had once made a deal with Sword Master Baihang. Both of them were incarnations, but compared to Sword Master Baihang, the Purple Sky Enlightened Master's incarnation was clearly much weaker. Even the spiritual pressure she exerted on him was no exception. This incarnation of mine is only at the second level of the immortality realm, but I'm still at the fifth level of the saint realm. At the second level of the immortality realm, it's enough to fight against more than 90% of spirit refining realm cultivators. Your Excellency Pak Hui, let me see the power of your divine grade Gang Qi. Excuse me. Xing Hui said. He easily drew out a third-level divine sword. In the next moment, blazing golden crow qi erupted from the sword's edge and condensed into Gang Qi. The terrifying heat caused the void to distort. Before it even got close, the incarnation of the Purple Sky Enlightened Master was already on the verge of collapse. However, the Purple Sky Enlightened Master was still a big shot at the fifth level of the Saint Realm. His spiritual power was many times stronger than Xing Hui's. He easily suppressed the incarnation that was on the verge of collapse. At the same time, he clenched his hand, and a sharp sword condensed from energy formed. He slashed it down, and the two energies collided fiercely in the void. Buzz! A ripple visible to the naked eye spread out. The collision of the two energies did not dissipate any energy. It was like the scorching sun and ice and snow melting. In the end, the powerful golden crow qi only managed to defeat the Purple Sky Enlightened Master's qi with a slight advantage. The Gang Qi's scorching aura of qi dissipated could not harm the incarnation of the incarnation. It's actually the gold crow Zhen qi. It's so ferocious and domineering. I've underestimated it, so much so that I couldn't precisely control all my energy. Reverend Purple Xiao waved her hand again, and the aftermath of the dispersing golden crow vital energy was also eliminated by her. You're qualified to join Sky Dome. I'll fill out the application form for you later. When Reverend Purple Sky reached this point, he looked at Qing Su and said, although your true qi can be condensed into Gang Qi, both of them are too scattered. As a result, you can't even unleash 30% of your true qi's power. Gang Qi should be able to crush true qi easily, but when your Gang Qi condensed from the Golden Crow's true qi collided with my ordinary true qi, it didn't gain much of an advantage. In the end, it's because your control and utilization of true qi is too low. Utilization efficiency? That's right. It's just like how an iron sword can penetrate an iron plate even though it's made of iron. If you can precisely control every bit of your true qi and accurately understand the target's weakness, you'll be able to achieve twice the result with half the effort. The Purple Sky Enlightened Master smiled. Among the 6 realms of saints, the first is qi, the second is qi, the third is qi, the third is ceaseless, the fourth is Jindan, the fifth is magical ability, and the sixth is Dharma image. The second realm of transformation requires you to control your own power to the extreme, to the point of being able to exert 20% of your qi's power. Controlling your qi to the smallest detail is an essential ability to step into the realm of transformation. Large sects often attach great importance to this issue and consciously guide their disciples from the qi realm. Although you're only in the spirit refining realm, it's not too late to pay attention to it now. Otherwise, once you get used to it and step into the realm of spirit and qi unity, you'll need to exert several times more perseverance to correct it. Xing Hui was slightly startled. After a moment, he understood the purple sky enlightened master's good intentions. He immediately said, "Thank you for your guidance. Since you've entered my heaven's dome, you're naturally a member of my heaven's dome. In addition to your relationship with Qinyu, there's no harm in asking me some small questions." "Yes." Xing Hui responded. Seeing that the purple sky enlightened master was about to leave, he hurriedly asked, "I heard from you just now that there are 6 realms for a saint. The first is true essence, the second is transformative state, the third is ceaseless state, the fourth is golden core, the fifth is divine ability, and the sixth is dharma image. But I've read in an ancient book that there are also sword momentum, domain, and vacuum shattering. What realms are these?" "Oh. You actually know about sword momentum, domain, and vacuum shattering? It seems to be information passed down from the ancient times of the divine wilderness." The purple sky enlightened master paused for a moment. With the destruction of the divine wilderness and the scarcity of resources, it's extremely difficult to cultivate the realms above the saint realm. Fortunately, there are many treasures in the Chaos Treasure Pavilion, so the realms above the saint realm haven't been reduced to legends. There are many books with similar information. The sword momentum you speak of is actually a high-level form of sword intent. Just like how there's initial success, great success, and consummation of true qi and gang qi, sword intent is the same. If there's a breakthrough after consummation of sword intent, there's sword momentum. If there's a breakthrough after consummation of sword intent, there's sword momentum. What about domain and vacuum shattering? Xing Hui had a vague feeling that things were going to get worse. Vacuum shattering, it seemed to be far from as simple as he had imagined. Dharma Idol is the final realm among the 6 realms of the Saint Realm. Above Dharma Idol is the brand new world known as the Divine Realm. The first realm is the Domain Realm. A cultivator condenses a domain, and their every move and word has immeasurable power. As for vacuum shattering, it's often used to describe a cultivator's unimaginably powerful strength. I don't know what realm it is. Perhaps I know too little about the 6 realms of the Divine Realm. Xing Hui's figure trembled slightly, and his face turned somewhat pale. Vacuum shattering, although he didn't know whether it represented a form of power or a realm of cultivation, the Domain Realm was the first realm of the Divine Realm above the Saint Realm. Dongqian took 300 years to form the domain and 1,000 years to shatter the vacuum. Just from this point alone, one could tell how difficult cultivation was. The time he took to reach vacuum shattering was more than 3 times the time it took to go from the first mortal realm to the first divine realm. Now, nearly 2 years had passed since he set the time limit for himself, but he was still miles away from the domain realm. There were only 8 years left. How could he cultivate vacuum shattering? How could he return to Earth without vacuum shattering? Really, could he only pin his hopes on the teleportation technique bestowed by the Chaos Temple? Pak Hui. Seeing Xing Hui's abnormal expression, the purple sky enlightened master called out. Xing Hui came back to his senses and realized that the purple sky enlightened master was still there. He forced himself to return to normal. Sorry to have kept you waiting. With your current cultivation, knowing too much won't do you any good. Try not to ask about things above the Saint Realm if you can. I understand. Alright then, I'll take my leave. Wait for my good news. Farewell, Purple Sky Enlightened Master. After Xing Hui finished speaking, the Purple Sky Enlightened Master nodded. Very quickly, he turned into an energy hurricane and swept out in all directions. It was like the airwaves formed by the attack of an expert of the unity of spirit and chi realm. After a while, the airwaves gradually weakened and dissipated. After the purple sky enlightened master left, Tsing Hui stood alone in the courtyard, speechless for a long time. Because the guards outside the courtyard had received his orders in advance, they didn't enter and remained loyal to their duties. He stood there for an entire night. It wasn't until the next day's sunlight pierced through the early morning clouds and shone on Tsing Hui's eyes that he woke up from his despondency. After a while, his eyes gradually became spirited and sharp. 8 years, shattering the vacuum, has become an extravagant hope. In that case, I can only pin all my hopes on the teleportation technique. I need to advance to the 30th level of the Sun of Chaos as quickly as possible and use the teleportation technique. Currently, he was at the 18th level of the Chaos. It would take him more than 3 years to reach the 30th level of the Sun of Chaos. If the teleportation technique was really reliable, he might even return to Earth earlier than expected. Thinking of this, Tsing Hui slowly calmed down. Next, he still needed to focus on cultivation. The review on Tianxiong's side was very fast. On the 3rd day, Tsing Hui had already received news from Nalan Fei. Then, under his lead, he conjured a spell and directly appeared on a mountain peak with birdsong and fragrant flowers. Living creatures. Tsing Hui looked at the mountain peak for a while. Then, his gaze immediately fell on a group of creatures that were spreading their wings and soaring like red-crowned cranes. This personal space belongs to Master Tianxiong, one of the 10 core members of Tianxiong. It's called Tianxiong Realm. Master Tianxiong is also one of the 4 earliest founders of Tianxiong. Nalan Fei explained with a smile beside Tsing Hui, the entire Tianxiong realm spans 30 to 40 million kilometers and can accommodate living creatures. It's the true foundation of Tianxiong. At the same time, it's also the foundation that allows Tianxiong to continuously absorb cultivators. Although every Son of Chaos has their own secrets, since you want to enter Tianxiong, you still have to abide by some basic rules. Come with me. As she spoke, she had already led Tsing Hui toward the peak of the mountain. Tsing Hui followed closely behind. However, after walking forward for a while, he seemed to have thought of something. He abruptly raised his head and looked toward the horizon. There was a sun hanging in the sky. The sun emitted a vast amount of heat, forming an endless radiance that completely illuminated half of Tianxiong realm. In the dazzling light, Tsing Hui could vaguely see a majestic figure swimming slowly in the sun. That's a golden crow. A golden crow divine beast. Although he was already mentally prepared, after hearing Nalan Fei's confirmation, Tsing Hui still couldn't help but keep looking at the sun. That's right, a golden crow divine beast. Although it's an immature golden crow divine beast, in terms of combat strength, it's even stronger than a peak saint expert. There's actually such a divine beast in Tianxiong. The golden crow is just one of the divine beasts. When you understand Tianxiong better, you'll realize that this force is far more shocking than you think. In fact, Tianxiong is similar to the 10 saint sects. They also have the concept of contribution points. As long as you contribute enough to Tianxiong, Tianxiong can do anything for you. Even if you want to cultivate on the sun and observe the golden crow divine beast up close, it's not difficult at all. Chapter 146. Observing the golden crow, Tsing Hui looked up. Coming from Earth, he knew very well what kind of existence the sun was. The surface temperature of the sun had reached 6,000 degrees, and its center was 20 million degrees. Almost no life could survive there. But now, such a terrifying star was actually formed by living creatures. What kind of miracle was this? How inconceivable was this? This golden crow was subdued by the combined efforts of the 6 experts of the Sky Dome Empire. With the help of the power of the golden crow, the core of the Sky Dome Empire was reheated and radiated with boundless radiance. This is only one of the powerful features of the Sky Dome Empire. In the Sky Dome Empire, not only can one observe many divine beasts, including the golden crow, there are also various divine weapons and top techniques. These divine weapons and techniques are from all the continents, including the Sky Dome Empire. Isn't this no different from a sacred land? Tsing Hui said sincerely as he looked at this completely real world. Sacred land? Nalan Fei smiled. Although I have never been to Heaven Wasteland, I have some understanding of the distribution of forces on Heaven Wasteland from my conversations with others. In Heaven Wasteland, there are 1 hall, 3 sects, 6 religions, and 9 gates, whose status is equivalent to the 10 great sects of Eastern Wasteland. However, the so-called 1 hall, 3 sects, 6 religions, and 9 gates are inferior to the 10 great organizations of chaos. For example, the Divine Punishment Hall is as powerful as any of the 9 great sects, but because it offended Heaven Vault, it was trampled by the experts of Heaven Vault. More than 90% of its experts were killed, and its entire sect was razed to the ground. In Heaven Wasteland, the 10 great organizations of chaos are more powerful than these sacred land sects. If you really want to compare them, the 10 great organizations of chaos are naturally slightly stronger than the 1 hall, 3 sects, 6 churches, and 9 gates. However, not all of the 10 great organizations have their headquarters in Tianhuan. Furthermore, the 1 hall, 3 sects, 6 churches, and 9 gates have sensed the strength of the 10 great organizations and have constantly sent many experts to infiltrate the 10 great organizations. Currently, there are quite a few high-ranking members of these sects and sacred grounds in the chaos organizations as well. For example, one of the 10 core members of our firmament, Venerable 3 Wonders, is a venerated elder of the 6 sacred sects. As Nalan Fei spoke, she had already brought Tsing Hui to a rather magnificent hall. The main hall was slightly deserted. Although there were some people coming and going, there were only a dozen or so of them. Nalan Fei stepped forward and said to a young woman. The young woman suddenly looked at Tsing Hui with some surprise, her eyes faintly carrying a trace of envy. A moment later, with the woman leading the way, Nalan Fei and Yang Kai once again entered the hall. In the hall, a man who looked to be about 50 years old and exuded an immortal aura was flipping through a book with great interest. Even though there was no presence or pressure in the chaotic divine hall, Qing Su could still sense that he was extraordinary just by looking at him. Even if he was sitting casually, he was completely in tune with the surrounding heaven and earth. Anyone who saw him would not be able to find the slightest flaw between him and the outside world. This is Venerable Tsang Zhen, who is in charge of the registration of our firmament disciples. Don't think that his status is ordinary just because he is in charge of this. In fact, he is not only a member of the 10 core members of our firmament, but also one of the 4 founders. However, he is already old and does not care much about the affairs of our firmament, so he has requested to sit here and review the registration of the disciples of our firmament. Nalan Fei introduced carefully. The firmament was established 1,400 years ago, which meant that Venerable Tsang Zhen had lived for at least 1,400 years. In 1,400 years, even an ordinary person could become a top expert. The woman, Nalan Fei, and Tsing Hui stepped forward and bowed one by one. Greetings, Venerable Tsang Zhen. Oh. Little Yuling and Qin Yu are here. Venerable Tsang Zhen put down the book in his hand and chuckled, appearing rather amiable. A moment later, his gaze also fell on Tsing Hui. He clearly did not use the appraisal art, but when he looked at Tsing Hui, it gave him the illusion that all his secrets had been seen through. This is Pak Hui, right? I have been waiting for you for a long time. Venerable Purple Shao has already told me that the Golden Crow vital energy is very domineering. If you can cultivate the divine grade lawful embodiment of heaven and earth one day, you will definitely become a top warrior of our firmament. Venerable Tsang Zhen said enthusiastically. Venerable Purple Shao is too kind. Tsing Hui said. Among the divine beast bloodlines, there might not be any difference in superiority, but there was a difference in specialization. Just like the divine beast Qilin, which was a mythical beast, if it fought to the death, it might not be able to defeat the divine beast White Tiger, which specialized in metal. There was also the divine beast Kunpeng, which roamed the world and came and went without a trace, but in a head-on battle, it was no match for the great sun Golden Crow. In terms of fighting ability, the great sun Golden Crow could definitely be ranked in the top 3 among the divine beasts. Come, I will register you. In addition, these are the rules and regulations of our firmament. Take a look. Qin Yu has already explained it to me. Xing Hui said. Well then, condense a spiritual imprint and leave it behind. This is considered an official entry. Hearing this, Xing Hui stepped forward and left a spiritual imprint. This spiritual imprint could only be controlled by the sword-bearer, and even the leader of firmament was not qualified to explore it. Only when this member violated the rules of firmament but was unwilling to be punished, would the sword-bearer release the spiritual imprint to lock onto his position and kill him. Not long after Xing Hui handed over his spiritual imprint, Venerable Tsongzhen had already handed over a small book and a small badge to him. Here it is. The badge represents that you are a member of firmament. There are roughly 5 types of members of firmament: peripheral members, official members, high-ranking members, council members, and core members. As for positions, they are part-time, such as me, the master of the book creation hall, the deputy leader of firmament, and Xian Qi, the sword-bearer. Positions are mainly judged by the contribution to firmament. Those who have cultivated divine grade Gang Qi are naturally official members. If you want to be promoted to a high-ranking member, there are 3 ways. First, cultivate divine grade Hunyuan. Second, reach 100,000 contribution points. Third, reach level 20 chaos. It is written in the book, you can read it yourself. Xing Hui nodded. By Su, any official member of the celestial dome of heaven will have the opportunity to observe the true body of the divine beast they cultivate. Since you cultivate the Golden Crow's true Qi, you'll naturally be able to observe the true body of the Golden Crow. Do you plan to go now or wait for a while? Xing Hui's heart moved. I can't wait to see the power of the Golden Crow. Well, I happen to be free today, so I might as well take you there. Nalan Fei did not understand, and hurriedly said, why don't you thank Venerable Tsongzhen? On the other hand, Yuling seemed to understand something and suddenly became speechless. Put on this dazzling young bead. Only with this can you survive in the periphery of the sun. Take it easy, let's go. Seeing that Xing Hui had agreed, Venerable Tsongzhen split a part of his Jin Qi and pulled him directly into the sky. Accompanied by waves of space shuttling, they actually crossed tens of millions of miles unknowingly. However, Xing Hui knew that this was not because Venerable Tsongzhen had the ability to travel through space, but because the Lord of Firmament Realm had given him a similar ability, allowing him to travel thousands of miles in an instant in this world. As Xing Hui got closer and closer to the core of the sun, the light emitted from it became more and more intense. If it was an ordinary person, they would have been blinded by the light. However, Xing Hui was a cultivator of the Golden Crow Jin Qi, and the Golden Crow Divine Soul was formed in his spiritual world. When the Golden Crow Divine Soul was in the awakening realm, it changed his physique, causing him to not be afraid of strong light. As for Venerable Tsongzhen, an old monster who had lived for God knows how many years, naturally, he was not afraid of light. The two arrived outside the sun, and with a leap, they immediately appeared on the surface of the sun. At this time, the dazzling young bead on his body emitted a circle of flowing light, protecting him from the true flames of the great sun that were everywhere. Standing here, Qing Su could already see a mythical creature that was constantly roaming about in the rolling heat flow. Even with the dazzling young bead blocking him, Xing Hui could not truly feel the divine might of this mythical creature. However, its huge body in the true flames of the great sun that shot out from each of its feathers still shocked Xing Hui from the bottom of his heart. Pak Hui, I have a great opportunity for you. Do you want it? Venerable Tsongzhen said with a mysterious expression. Opportunity? Please tell me, Venerable Tsongzhen. Right now, there is a great sun in front of you. You cultivate the bloodline of the Golden Crow. In front of the golden crow and surrounded by the great sun, if you were to cultivate in such a place. What do you think? Tsing Hui's eyes lit up. Then, as if he had thought of something, he said, right now, I am only in my spiritual form. Even if I cultivate, it's true that you are in your spiritual form, but the sky dome realm is real. Even the blazing sun above our heads and the divine beast, the golden crow, are real. Why can't I cultivate here? Venerable Tsongzhen said and coughed slightly. Of course, we still need to use some methods. The incarnation technique can project energy to hundreds of millions of miles away. If we use some tools, we can do the same. You don't need to ask about the specific process. You just need to give me a spiritual imprint of yours and pay me 3 Taoist rhymes. I guarantee that whatever realm you cultivate to here, your true body will also reach. There is actually such a divine technique. When Tsing Hui heard this, he was naturally tempted. With the golden crow's true body in front of him and being able to cultivate in the great sun, how much would his cultivation level increase after a period of time? It would not be difficult for him to break through a realm. However, I don't have any item that contains 3 Taoist rhymes. Then you can owe me. I don't need you to write an IOU. Just remember to pay me when the time comes. It's settled then. Spiritual imprint. Tsing Hui once again split a portion of his spiritual energy and condensed it into a spiritual imprint. After receiving Tsing Hui's spiritual imprint, Venerable Tsongzhen directly dripped a drop of golden liquid onto Tsing Hui's body. Instantly, Tsing Hui's body became more substantial. It felt like a flesh and blood body. Send all of your spiritual energy here. Tsing Hui did not dare to relax. He immediately announced that he would go into seclusion on the dragon-slaying island. He focused all of his spiritual energy on the sky dome realm in the Chaos Shrine. At this moment, the droplet of golden liquid showed its effects. Qing Su immediately sensed that his body was no different from his body in the real world. He could clearly sense the essence of the sun that was as vast as an ocean in the core of the sun that surrounded him. Chapter 147. All right. There was a trace of pain in Tsongzhen's eyes, but he quickly covered it up. With a face full of joy, he said, "You can stay here and observe. I will slightly adjust the isolation strength of the dazzling sun bead for you, and let a part of the great sun essence flow into your protective cover. You can use the great sun essence to cultivate with all your strength. However, according to the rules, you can't stay here to observe and cultivate for more than 30 days. How much you can temper your soul in 30 days depends on yourself." As soon as Tsongzhen finished speaking, he patted the protective cover formed by the dazzling sun bead around Tsing Hui's body. Suddenly, a horrible heat mixed with the extremely pure sun true flame rolled over. Tsing Hui suddenly opened his eyes. The sun essence flowed into his body like a torrent. After a little practice, he felt that he was completely immersed in the sun essence, and the endless sun essence was inexhaustible. "Brat, I've already given you the opportunity. In these 30 days, you better stay alert and don't slack off for even a moment. If you dare to walk around carelessly or get distracted, you'll miss out on this opportunity that I've given you. From now on, don't even think about getting any benefits from me. Alright, now focus your mind and make use of every second to cultivate. I'm busy so I won't be watching you. When the time comes, I'll take you away." Tsongzhen said sternly. "Yes." Tsing Hui answered immediately. A cultivator of the great sun gold crow spell could sit on the sun and cultivate openly. Even the master of the gold crow sect might not have such a great opportunity. Who would be willing to waste even 1 second of their time? At this moment, Tsing Hui had already observed the divine beast golden crow to improve some of the small flaws in the practice of the sun golden crow skill. Seeing this, Tsongzhen nodded with satisfaction, and then his figure flashed, and he had already shuttled away. Not long after, he appeared at the other end of the core of the sun, which was less than 1,000 miles in diameter. There was a woman who looked to be in her 40s, full of grace, and was cultivating. At this moment, his face was no longer as dignified as before. Instead, he had a fawning look on his face. "Sister Li, you're still cultivating?" After these few years, Sister Li's true phoenix fire has become even purer. It looks like you won't need much time before you can use the true phoenix fire as a foundation to cultivate the even more tyrannical true sun fire. Why are you here again? Didn't my brother say that you can't easily step into the core of the sun? The woman called Sister Li glared at Master Tsongjin angrily. Well, a boy who has awakened the bloodline of the Golden Crow wants to observe the Golden Crow real body. This is my duty, so I brought him here to guard. To see Sister Li on the way. How long can you observe the Golden Crow real body? 2 hours is more than enough. Why do you have to make another trip here? The woman said angrily. That boy's comprehension is amazing. After observing the Golden Crow real body, he actually had an epiphany. It's a rare opportunity. According to the rules of our sky, once he has an epiphany, he can stay here for a maximum of 30 days. So, epiphany. It's a good opportunity. Seeing this, the woman didn't know what to say. Okay, you stay aside. I have to cultivate, and I don't have time to talk to you. Sister Li, listen to me. I recently found a phoenix sacred beast. Sister Li, Tsing Hui didn't know what was happening in the other direction of the core of the sun. At this moment, he was concentrating all his attention on observing the Golden Crow real body in front of him, making his divine soul more solid. The Golden Crow divine soul was formed by imitating the Golden Crow, and no matter how hard one tried to imitate the Golden Crow, it couldn't compare to the real Golden Crow. After seeing the Golden Crow real body with his own eyes, Tsing Hui clearly felt that he had a new understanding of the first 3 stages of the Great Sun Golden Crow technique. The efficiency of his cultivation was faster, and the Golden Crow divine soul in his spiritual world was more realistic and agile. The changes of the Golden Crow divine soul directly changed Tsing Hui's physical body, making his affinity and resistance to fire improve silently. At the same time, he also took out the fire phoenix feather. The essence of the great sun flowed into Tsing Hui's body like a torrential river, enriching his Golden Crow real qi. After being continuously compressed by his body, Tsing Hui became more condensed. His gang qi, which was close to the level of initial success, silently broke through the first barrier, but this was only the beginning. With such a unique environment, his cultivation was advancing by leaps and bounds at every moment. His gang qi had reached the level of initial success, and he didn't even care about consolidating his cultivation level. On the second day of cultivation, his gang qi had broken through again and stepped into the level of initial success. After 3 days of delay, on the 5th day of Tsing Hui's arrival at the periphery of the Great Sun, Tsing Hui's gang qi had advanced by leaps and bounds to the level of initial success. After his gang qi reached the level of initial success, Tsing Hui could have continued to cultivate and rushed to the level of unity of spirit and qi. The Golden Crow divine soul was so solid and real that he already had the qualifications to do so. However, divine grade gang qi was still divine grade gang qi. Every inch of divine grade gang qi contained unimaginable power. Once unleashed, it could even turn a 3rd-grade divine weapon into molten iron. How could such a powerful gang qi be subdued without sufficient sword intent? Although Tsing Hui's spiritual level had reached level 46 and had undergone a transformation from death to life under the bombardment of the eternal blazing sun, his spiritual level had advanced to level 47. However, compared to subduing his blazing and domineering gang qi and achieving unity of spirit and qi, it was still far inferior. If he couldn't subdue his gang qi, how could he achieve unity of spirit and qi and advance to immortality level 4? Moreover, he only had the first 3 levels of the Great Sun Golden Crow technique, and he didn't have the Great Sun Golden Crow technique to achieve unity of spirit and qi. For a moment, he had no choice but to stop cultivating the Great Sun Golden Crow technique and quickly shift his attention to the Illuminating Sun Sutra. Cultivation level was the foundation of everything. The essence of the Great Sun was freely available, and in this unique environment, he needed to maximize every second he had. The Illuminating Sun Sutra was a cultivation method derived from the bloodline of the Torch Dragon. Although the Torch Dragon soul created by Tsing Hui was somewhat different from the Torch Dragon recorded in the Illuminating Sun Sutra, it was still crowned with the nickname of the Great Sun True God. Absorbing the essence of the Great Sun would also bring immeasurable benefits. However, compared to cultivating the Great Sun Golden Crow technique, the efficiency was much lower. After a full 4 days, Tsing Hui pushed the Illuminating Sun Sutra from the initial stage of the True Qi realm to the Spirit Refining realm, and refined the Red Yang Gang Qi. He spent another 12 days to condense the Red Yang Gang Qi to a small success. Compared to the Great Sun Golden Crow technique, this cultivation efficiency was more than 10 times slower. Seeing that the 1-month deadline was closing in, and according to this trend, he wouldn't be able to advance the Red Sun Gang Qi to the Desheng stage in the remaining 9 days. He immediately changed his direction, and his gaze fell on the offensive method derived from the 3rd layer of the Great Sun Golden Crow technique. Every layer of the Great Sun Golden Crow technique had extraordinary attacks. However, these attacks often required the assistance of precious resources and were not easy to cultivate. Tsing Hui wanted to shatter the vacuum as soon as possible and was unwilling to spend too much effort on these attacks. Thus, he did not study them. But now, there was an opportunity. Moreover, the 3rd layer of the Great Sun Golden Crow technique was equivalent to the embryonic form of the Eternal Blazing Sunday. Only by cultivating this technique to the point of perfection could he attempt to refine the Eternal Blazing Sunday, Red Crow soul. He would condense the extremely pure Golden Crow Jin Qi into small Golden Crows and feed them to the Jin Qi in his body. At the critical moment, he would release them and detonate them after hitting the target. Every Scarlet Crow soul was equivalent to his full strength attack. The initial stage of the Spirit Qi could refine 1 Red Crow soul, the small success stage of the Spirit Qi could refine 3 Red Crow souls, and Tsing Hui's perfect stage of the Spirit Qi realm could refine 9 Red Crow souls. Once this technique was used, it was equivalent to the combined attack of 9 experts who had refined the divine grade Golden Crow Qi. Its power was truly unstoppable. Tsing Hui immediately used all his strength to refine it. An endless stream of energy was drawn by him and condensed into Red Crow souls. Failed? No problem. The surrounding Great Sun essence was endless. There was no need to worry about the problem of consumption. If he failed, he could just continue. Under such circumstances, Tsing Hui used 6 days to refine all 9 Red Crow souls. During this time, he failed no less than 100 times. It should be known that every Red Crow soul was equivalent to the condensed True Qi essence of a perfect stage of the Spirit Qi realm. If he wanted to replenish and compress so much energy, he would need to spend an unknown amount of time. If he relied on the Great Sun essence and other items, he would need to spend 3 or 4 Red Crow souls. Tsing Hui failed 100 times to refine 9 Red Crow souls, which was equivalent to wasting 300 or 400 Great Sun essences. With so much Great Sun essence, it would not be difficult to buy 3 or 4 true eternal blazing suns. In the remaining 3 days, Tsing Hui did not cultivate. Instead, he constantly tried to refine the Red Crow souls, striving to reduce the failure rate to the lowest. Finally, when the success rate of refining the Red Crow souls had been raised to 60%, Master Tsongzhen's loud shout came. "All right, kid, 30 days have passed. If you stay any longer, that old man Sangqiong will definitely find trouble with me. End your cultivation." What a pity, if I had another 3 to 5 days, I could have raised the success rate of refining the Red Crow souls to 80%. Tsing Hui felt a little regretful in his heart. "Kid, there is one thing you have to remember. This opportunity is given to you by me. You must not spread it out. If others ask why you stayed for a month, just say that you were too fascinated by the golden crow divine beast's true body and had an epiphany. Do you understand? Xing Hui knew that this opportunity was not ordinary. What he had gained in this month was not something that could be exchanged with 3 Dao rhymes. Naturally, he would not talk about it. I understand. Let's go. Remember what I said. Don't spread it around. Otherwise, I will hold you accountable. Master Cangzhen once again sternly repeated. I will remember. That's good. Master Cangzhen waved his hand and once again wrapped Xing Hui and fell straight to the ground. As he once again shuttled through layers of space, not long after, the square of the book creation hall appeared in front of him. Chapter 148. Esteemed Master. As soon as they arrived at the book creation hall, Yuling, who was specially guarding here, immediately stepped forward and saluted. N. Cangzhen esteemed master nodded, and at the same time, glanced at Xing Hui, and said with a serious tone, I can see that you have double awakened and cultivated 2 bloodlines. But you have to be careful. There are 2 divine beast souls in your body and they are subtly transforming your body. If you don't control this well, or if your body can't withstand the transformation of the 2 divine beasts, you will turn into a monster. Therefore, if you really want to continue on this path of dual cultivation, you can't slack off on training your body. When your level of chaos increases in the future, you have to increase your recovery characteristics. Only then will you be able to boldly temper your body without worrying about leaving behind any hidden dangers. Thank you for your guidance, Master Cangzhen. Cangzhen esteemed master shook his head. Young people nowadays are really arrogant. It's true that the power of dual cultivation is amazing, but how can it be so easy to make achievements? If you don't have the guidance of a top expert, it's too easy to have problems. Especially in the prominent divine stage, when the power of 2 battle constitutions is on your body at the same time, I'm afraid you will explode and die. I think it's better for you to cultivate the Golden Crow bloodline and let the Golden Crow bloodline devour the other bloodline. In this way, not only will the Golden Crow bloodline become stronger, but your cultivation path will also be more stable. I will act according to my ability. Xing Hui said. Cangzhen esteemed master saw that he was stubborn and didn't force him. Everyone had their own cultivation path. Those who could cultivate divine grade aura chi were all dragons among men, and they were full of confidence in themselves. Only when they hit their heads and bleed would they know what to choose. In a while, you can leave directly, but when you leave, you have to be careful. The moment your spirit returns to your body, the golden blood, which is specially used to break the barrier between the Chaos Temple and the real world, will bring the power in your body to your real body. Your body will face the pressure of skyrocketing power, and if you can't withstand it, you will die. My recovery characteristics are relatively high. Is that so? A 3rd or 4th level recovery characteristic is enough, but you can't avoid suffering, go. Yes. Xing Hui responded and left the Chaos Temple. Unlike when he left the Chaos Shrine in the past, when he left the Chaos Shrine this time, he felt like his entire body was sinking to the bottom of the lake. This sinking lasted for a few breaths of time. In the next moment, the sinking feeling suddenly disappeared, and the feeling of returning to his body filled his entire body. The feeling of reaching the completion of the 3rd level of the Great Sun Golden Crow skill and the minor success of the 3rd level of the Candle Sun Sutra also flowed through his body. The only difference was that this body had never carried this kind of power before. Even though his spirit had already adapted to this power, he still felt like his body was about to burst. In an instant, a large amount of blood seeped out of his pores. Fortunately, he reacted quickly and absorbed all the true chi into his body at the first moment. Even the 9 Scarlet Crow souls were dormant. Only then was he able to reduce the burden of the majestic true chi on his body. Even so, his clothes were unavoidably dyed red with blood. My strength suddenly increased by so much. My body can't adapt to it. Fortunately, my recovery ability has reached Tier 5, Tsing Hui's expression was calm. Next, he began to consciously and slowly circulate the true qi in his body. Wherever the true qi passed, his tendons and meridians could not bear the burden. However, the powerful recovery ability of the Tier 5 true qi repaired all the damage done to his tendons and meridians in an instant. Again and again, it was damaged, repaired, shattered, and reborn. His body was adapting to this sudden increase in power at an extremely fast speed. After 10 days, the Golden Crow True Qi and Scarlet Yang True Qi ran rampant in his body, no longer causing any damage to his body. However, Tsing Hui still did not relax. In one breath, he cultivated from the early spirit refining realm to the peak of the spirit refining realm. The gap in cultivation was really too big, and the sudden increase in true qi was not as smooth as his heart's desire. He still needed to polish it carefully. He did not need to reach the level of Taoist Master Purple Sky, where he did not waste a single bit of true qi, but at least he needed to be able to command it like an arm. Just like that, another 20 days passed. Calculating the time, it had been 2 months since he returned from the mainland to the sea. 2 months was not a long time, but in terms of cultivation, compared to 2 months ago, the current him was not just a little bit. Primal Chaos Temple. Sure enough, it's good to enjoy the shade under a big tree. The convenience of entering Sky Vault is many times faster than gathering resources and cultivating by oneself. No wonder countless cultivators want to join the 10 great sacred sects, to join a top organization like Sky Vault. No wonder those who stand at the peak often come from the 10 great sacred sects. Tsing Hui sat on an armchair in his personal space, muttering to himself while waiting for Nalan Fei's news. At the same time, he glanced at his own attributes. Tsing Hui. Primal Chaos Level, Rank 18. Recovery, Rank 5, Comprehension, Rank 4, Sword Talent, Rank 3, Sacred Technique, Rank 2, Divine Protection, Rank 1, Personal Space, Rank 1, Appraisal, Rank 1, Advancement, Rank 1. Required Tao Aura, 75100. Cultivation Realm, Qi Refining, Aura Forming Realm. Attack Level, 51, Defense Level, 44, Speed Level, 48, Spirit Level, 47. The Golden Crow vital energy really lives up to its name of being destructive and domineering. In terms of attack, it's really unparalleled, but in terms of defense, it's a little weak, and this is because I've cultivated the Illuminating Sun Sutra and reached the 3rd level of initial success. Otherwise, my defense level would be at most 40, or maybe even 39. Pak Hui. Nalan Fei's voice sounded. Tsing Hui also invited her into his personal space. Be careful during this period of time. There are some faint movements in the sect, and the overseas forces might be swept up. If there are any changes, you'd better take your people and retreat first. Sweep up. All the sects along the coast of the 10 saint sects do this from time to time. First, it's used to train their disciples. Second, after a period of accumulation, many of the overseas islands have accumulated some wealth. For example, the targets this time are either Shaoyang Sea City or Yuheng Sea City. As for the other two, one is too far away, and the other has been swept up 100 years ago, so there's not enough profit. After Nalan Fei finished speaking, she added, wiping out is different from seeking revenge. You only need to avoid the vanguard of the wiping out team. If there are any abnormal movements, I will inform you immediately, but you have to be careful. Okay. During this period of time, have you finished reading the book with the detailed explanation of Heaven's Vault? Tsing Hui nodded and said at the same time, I didn't expect there to be so many official members in Heaven's Vault. Every one of them has cultivated divine-grade earth energy, 1,034 people. This number isn't too many. Although there may not be 30 divine-grade earth energy cultivators in the entire Eastern Wilderness, compared to the vast world, the Eastern Wilderness is nothing. There are hundreds and thousands of small islands like the Eastern Wilderness. Moreover, Heaven's Vault, which was originally passed down from the main body of the divine wilderness continent, is obviously stronger than the other continents. Those top forces often have more than one Saint Realm expert overseeing them. With careful training, it's not impossible to teach one or two divine-grade earth energy cultivators. Eastern Wilderness. Heaven's Vault. I really don't know when I'll be able to step into the vast world of Heaven's Vault. Before you reach the Saint Realm, you mustn't be impulsive. Even if you reach the Saint Realm, it's best to go out to sea in groups. Otherwise, you'll most likely die, Nalan Fei hurriedly warned. I understand. Xing Hui asked, is there any way to refine the spirit and increase the strength of the spirit? There are many ways. In the Sky Vault realm, there's a place called the Six Desires Law World. It was created specifically to use the 7 emotions and 6 desires to refine one's spirit. In addition, you can ask those high-level experts to use their spirit to shock and refine your will. Or you can borrow a divine weapon that contains boundless sword intent and use the sword intent of the divine weapon to test your own sword intent. However, opening the 6 Desires Law World, asking high-level experts to help, or renting a divine weapon requires contribution points. Without contribution points, others may not be willing to help you. Xing Hui nodded. I plan to contribute the first 4 layers of the Hunyuan Heaven Sex Black Hole Sutra, and then use the contribution points exchanged for the Black Hole Sutra to exchange for the 4th layer of the Great Sun Golden Crow technique. I wonder, if there will be any hidden dangers. Of course not. The Hunyuan Heaven sect is domineering in the Eastern Wilderness, but they can't control Heaven's Vault realm. However, if you're hunted because of these techniques, Heaven's Vault realm may not appear to protect you. I understand. The biggest difference between chaos organizations and holy lands was that they were a collection of interests. Their cohesiveness was far from comparable to that of holy lands. Even the existence of the sword wielder was more of a deterrent than a practical one. If Heaven's Vault realm started a war with another powerful chaos organization without bringing any benefits, most of the people in Heaven's Vault realm would abandon them. If the sword wielder dared to chase after them, the reputation of the entire organization would be completely ruined, and it would be very difficult for new members to join. As time passed, Heaven's Vault realm would gradually weaken until it was swallowed up by its enemies. Then go. However, I can't be sure if Heaven's Vault realm has already recorded the Black Hole Sutra. I'll go ask. After saying that, Xing Hui's figure dissipated, leaving his personal space. He formed a hand seal and appeared in the Sky Vault realm. Then, he headed straight for the library. Soon, he arrived at the floor of the library. Although it was called a library, this place seemed to be quite automated. There were a large number of platforms in the hall that could prevent identity badges. Once an identity badge was placed, a light screen would pop up and one could search for the desired information on the light screen. Xing Hui first searched for the Black Hole Sutra. When he saw the information on it, disappointment appeared on his face. Heaven's Vault realm recorded the 1st to 6th levels of the Black Hole Sutra in detail. The exchange cost 5,000 contribution points or 50 Daoist rhymes. After a moment, he flipped through the Great Sun Golden Crow technique. Heaven's Vault realm recorded the 4th level, which cost 4,000 contribution points or 40 Daoist rhymes. The price was too high. He couldn't afford it. He had already cultivated the Great Sun Golden Crow technique to perfection and couldn't cultivate it further. The progress of the remaining Illuminating Sun Sutra was slow. The 3 Unity of Divine Qi experts summoned by Yun Tao are about to arrive. I hope I can find some unexpected gains from them. Otherwise, I'll really have to follow Xuanwu Cub to lure Jiuying and try my luck at his sister's cave abode. The cave abode of a saint-level Xuanwu. The collection can't be too bad. Chapter 149. Not far from Dragon-Slaying Island, an extraordinary battleship was shuttling through the sea of clouds, riding the wind and breaking the waves. As the clouds in front were torn apart, the battleship jumped out and saw the huge coastline at the end of the coast. Dragon Whale Island, here we are. In the captain's room of the battleship, a man who looked like a gentleman in his 30s sipped the drunken immortal wine that was offered by one of his subordinates. He glanced at the huge island that appeared in the sea from the corner of his eyes. We can't call it Dragon Whale Island now, but Dragon Slaying Island. Don't get it wrong. There were a total of 4 people in the room. The one who spoke was a man in black with a cold expression. Whether it's Dragon Whale Island or Dragon Slaying Island, they will all become history after today. Another woman, who was dressed in a long red robe and had a head full of ornaments, said. She had a graceful and luxurious appearance. Yi Xiao is right. Madame Zhu Yu, we have to respect the new name that the island owner gave to this island, even if he is going to meet the King of Hell soon. The last man in a black robe said indifferently. Alright, that Dragon Slayer Island master isn't considered weak. According to Yun Tao, once he uses his divine technique, even the famous Dragon Whale Island master wouldn't be his match. Therefore, if you really want to relax, you'll have to wait until his divine technique lasts. When you said. With when you around, as long as Dragon Slaying Island owner is not a true divine Chi Unison realm expert, he is not worth mentioning. That's right. Not only did when you cultivate the revolving turtle bloodline, he even exchanged a tier 5 armor with a powerful person. No matter how capable Dragon Slaying Island owner is, he can't do anything to Wen Yu in a short period of time. Yi Xiao and Madame Zhu Yu said with respect. In terms of cultivation, Wen Yu was the strongest and had a reputation. If it wasn't because he wasn't good at fighting, the 3 of them who were in the middle stage of divine Chi Unison realm might not dare to team up with him. Everything will have to wait until we meet Dragon Slaying Island owner. Wen Yu said and glanced below again. In case there is any problem with Yun Tao, let's go to the city where Dragon Slaying Island owner is and kill him first. Go directly. Bypass Yun Tao. We all have Dao carrying items with 10 Dao rhythms as collateral for the mission. It's not good to completely bypass him, right? That's right. I've worked hard for a few dozen years to accumulate a Dao carrying object with 10 Dao carrying auras. If I miss it because of such a mission, then it'll be too late for regrets. It's fine. When you glanced at the few of them, when the time comes, we'll just give him the things that we should give him according to the mission. As long as there's no problem with the main body of the mission, he's just a beginner stage cultivator of the unification of spirit and chi who's not good at fighting. Would he dare to pursue some small details? Madame Dogwood, the Night Owl, and the other black-robed man didn't retort. After all, the most important thing to kill Zhan Long Island Master this time was to endure the duration of the opponent's divine technique. Only by enduring the duration would they be able to kill him. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to fight against Zhan Long Island Master who was at the pinnacle of the unification of spirit and chi with the help of the divine technique. Furthermore, the time limit to endure the Zhan Long Island Master's divine technique was completely dependent on Captain Wen Yu. Since Wen Yu had said so, they naturally had to give him face. Then, let's do as Lord Wen Yu has said. Let's descend to Zhan Long City where the island master of Zhan Long Island is and kill him in one go. Madame Dogwood said. Wen Yu nodded with a slight smile. What's that? At this moment, the black-robed man seemed to unconsciously glance outside the warship and saw a black dot coming from the direction of Zhan Long Island. It was approaching at an extremely fast speed. His words attracted the attention of the few unification of spirit and chi experts present. As the black dot kept approaching, the Night Owl, who had the best eyesight, suddenly widened his eyes. A person. It's a person. That's a flying sword. Someone is flying at full speed toward us on a flying sword. A flying sword. The Night Owl's words made Wen Yu, the black-robed man, and Madame Dogwood slightly stunned. Then, the black-robed man and Madame Dogwood revealed a joyful expression at the same time. It's a flying sword. I've been thinking about exchanging for a flying sword. Unfortunately, those sons of chaos who have flying swords usually ask for 3 or even 4 Daoist rhymes. Humph. If this price was on the infinite wasteland domain, it wouldn't be a problem to buy a dozen flying swords. How could they have the nerve to ask for such a price? I didn't expect a flying sword to be delivered to my door today. I'm going to stop him right now. Madam Dogwood, I'm also lacking a flying sword. I think the two of us should each show off our abilities. Whoever can intercept and kill this person will become the owner of the flying sword. The black-robed man said. All right, there's no need for the two of you to argue. The owner of the flying sword is obviously coming for us. Who else on Zhanlong Island can own a flying sword other than the island master? Prepare to meet him on the deck. If he uses a divine technique, Madam Dogwood, use your soul's care bell to disturb him and prevent him from escaping on his flying sword. Hey Yen, use your dark barrier to trap him and do your best to hold him back. The night owl is in charge of keeping watch and preventing him from escaping. When you abruptly stood up. Understood. Madam Dogwood, the night owl, and the others all wore solemn expressions when they realized that the person before them was their target. They quickly headed to the deck with Wenyu. That's the island master. He doesn't look very old and is just a brat. However, he knows that we're coming. Could it be that Yuntao has betrayed us? Madam Dogwood frowned. I already found it strange that there was no news about Yuntao in the past 3 months. Now it seems that Yuntao has most likely been dealt with or even killed by this dragon-slaying island owner. However, Yuntao must have set a trap for this dragon-slaying island owner before his death and lied about our true cultivation. Otherwise, this dragon-slaying island owner would have long fled when he saw us coming. How would he dare to confront us head-on? The night owl sneered. That's most likely the case. Yuntao really wants to use us to avenge him. So, why don't we let him get what he wants? When you had a gentle and refined appearance, with a faint mocking smile on his face. In less than 3 breaths of time after the 4 of them rushed to the deck, Tsing Hui's figure on his flying sword had already arrived. After realizing that the 4 of them had come to kill him, he did not hesitate at all. The moment the two sides clashed, a battle broke out. Dazzling stellar energy surged out from his body, instantly burning the void and forming a monstrous wave of flames visible to the naked eye. Swept by the starfire of the 13 swords of the burning heaven, this wave of flames brazenly crashed into the warship. If this attack hit, even if the warship was a tier 3, it would definitely be pierced through and destroyed on the spot. This pressure has definitely reached the peak of the unity of spirit and chi. This brat directly used a divine art. Everyone, be careful. Sensing the might of Tsing Hui's attack, the night owl's expression turned grave. Hey Yen, Madam Dogwood don't have a flying sword, so we can't let him destroy the warship. I'll go first, the rest of you follow closely behind. Wenyu shouted in a low voice. The next moment, his figure rushed out. A flying sword appeared under his feet, and he flew up to meet Tsing Hui's attack head-on. In the void, the shadow of a black tortoise appeared behind him due to the full activation of his stellar energy, completely enveloping him. Coupled with the fact that he was wearing a Tier 5 middle-grade Xuanwu armor, his defensive power could be said to have reached the peak in one breath. Not to mention a cultivator at the peak of the unity of spirit and chi, even a blue netherworld expert would not be able to do anything to him in a short time. No wonder this group of people still dared to attack Tsing Hui after learning of his combat strength. Unfortunately, bang! Flames burst out. Like a meteor crashing into the earth, a visible energy shockwave mixed with blazing flames swept out, incinerating all the airflow within a radius of 1,000 meters. Even the warships 1,000 meters away shook violently when they were hit by the shockwave, and many of the crew members who were caught off guard fell and rolled on the ground. As the flames spread out, Wenyu retreated continuously, his face looking rather ugly. A dark red wound tore across his chest, apparently caused by Tsing Hui's sword chi. My tortoise shell vital energy is extremely good at defense, and I exchanged 3 Taoist rhymes for a tier 5 middle grade armor. Under such circumstances, you can still hurt me. When Yu's gaze immediately fell on the crimson dragon sword in Tsing Hui's hand. A tier 5 divine weapon. And it's definitely a tier 5 upper grade divine weapon. Tsing Hui's sword had succeeded. The sword vibrated, and a fierce and blazing stellar energy erupted from the blade once again. The intense friction between the stellar energy and the air caused a series of explosions in the void. The terrifying destructive power had not even reached Wen Yu's body, but it had already caused Wen Yu's expression to change greatly. If I let him attack, I won't be able to resist at all. Madame Zhu Yu, He Yen, let's attack together and endure the duration of his divine skill. Once the divine skill's effect is over, it'll be time for him to die. Wen Yu's figure rapidly retreated toward the warship as she shouted at the same time. Madame Zhu Yu and He Yen did not dare to be negligent. One of them took out the soul-sucking bell, while the other took out the dark barrier. For a moment, Tsing Hui felt his spirit tremble as it was filled with the demonic sound of the soul-sucking bell. At the same time, the dark barrier enveloped him, making him feel as if he had sunk into a quagmire. His physical strength and vital energy were depleted several times, no, dozens of times. As expected. Even though I've already surpassed the level of unity of divine energy in terms of attack, and even an expert at the later stage of unity of divine energy who cultivates defensive energy and wears a 5th level middle grade armor was unable to block the sharpness of the Golden Crow's vital energy. But, defense, is my greatest shortcoming. Moreover, the 47th level of mental strength doesn't have any obvious advantage in a battle between experts of the unity of divine energy, to the extent that even the opponent's mental attack method can affect me. Tsing Hui had already sensed his own shortcomings after fighting Wen Yu for a while with the dark barrier and soul-sucking bell. His current strength should be slightly higher than a peak divine Qi Unity Realm expert who cultivates ordinary stellar energy, equivalent to a peak divine Qi Unity Realm expert who cultivates spirit-grade stellar energy. Although Wen Yu was at the late-stage divine Qi Unity Realm, she was close to the peak divine Qi Unity Realm. Moreover, she cultivates spirit-grade stellar energy. In addition, Madame Zhu Yu and He Yen, the 2 mid-stage divine Qi Unity Realm experts, were assisting her from the side. In a short period of time, he was actually unable to take them down. Of course, if he were to use the Scarlet Crow Soul and Divine Technique, it would be a different story. However, Tsing Hui was not in a hurry to use his true killing move. The gap in his cultivation was too big, from Spirit Refining Realm to Peak Spirit Refining Realm. He needed someone to practice with. The people in front of him were obviously the best choice. He believed that after he thoroughly integrated his skyrocketing strength through battle, the stalemate would inevitably be broken. Chapter 150. Hold on. Hold on. The divine art has a time limit. As long as we can last through the duration of his divine art, he'll definitely die. No wonder he could kill the Dragon Whale Island Lord. No wonder Yun Tao had to rely on us even though he knew there was a great deal to be done. It turns out that this kid's divine art is so frightening. If he didn't rely on us, Yun Tao would be seeking his own death if he dared to attack this kid. A high-class son of chaos is truly difficult to deal with. Wen Yu, Madame Dogwood, Nightingale, and He Yen bitterly held on, but there was no fear on their faces. On the contrary, their eyes flashed as if they were certain that as long as they could endure the most difficult period of the divine art's duration, victory would be theirs. It's about time. Nightingale, watch out for him to escape. Wen Yu had 2 more wounds on her body, but she was even more spirited now. I understand. Don't worry, he can't escape. Nightingale coldly stared at Tsing Hui. As long as he showed the slightest sign of escaping, he would immediately attack and do his best to stop him. His flying sword is pretty good, and his willpower far surpasses that of ordinary people, but, with my soul-sucking bell, he won't be able to safely control his flying sword. Even if he wants to escape, Nightingale and Madame Hunyuan will be able to easily catch up to him. Thus, as long as we hold on a little longer, he'll definitely die today. Madame Dogwood confidently declared. The four of them immediately became spirited. Even though Tsing Hui was valiant, they showed no fear. But, 3 minutes went by, Tsing Hui's aura did not weaken. 6 minutes went by, when you could clearly sense that as Qing Su's grasp over the power of the divine arts had reached perfection, the pressure on them had become greater and greater. 10 minutes went by, not only did Tsing Hui's aura show no signs of weakening, but because he was using his strength more and more perfectly, they were in imminent danger. 15 minutes went by, finally, He Yan couldn't help but groan and spit out a mouthful of blood. At the same time, a resplendent sword light erupted from the dark barrier he had conjured. It was like an exploding sun, instantly dispersing all the darkness within the dark barrier. My darkness barrier, He Yan's face was ghastly pale. How could this be? How can the divine spell last for so long? Wen Yu was similarly struck by Tsing Hui's sword, adding another wound to his body. Even though he had also added a Tier 1 recovery attribute to himself, his face was still pale from the excessive loss of blood. I've studied divine spells before. When divine spells reach the 5th level, there will be a round of mutation, and the characteristic of this mutation is the extension of time. Could it be that he has already reached the 5th level of divine spells? Although Madame Dogwood was only using the soul-sucking bell to attack Tsing Hui's mind, the soul-sucking bell consumed her own mind. Therefore, the continuous attacks also exhausted her. Upgrade Divine to Tier 5. If he wants to upgrade his divine arts to level 5, he needs to reach level 14 in Chaos. Could it be that he obtained the inheritance of a level 28 Son of Chaos? But apart from that, we can't explain how his divine arts could last until now. A rank 14 Son of Chaos. Wen Yu clenched his teeth and fiercely said, the higher his chaos level, the more valuable it is to us. While a level 5 divine spell can extend its duration, there is a limit. Everyone, if we continue to hold on, we will definitely be able to obtain the final victory. When that time comes, we will soar into the sky. Although Madame Dogwood, Nightingale, and He Yan had been forced into dire straits by Tsing Hui alone, they were unwilling to fail at the last minute. Gritting their teeth, they once more charged at Tsing Hui. But, what everyone did not know was that Qing Su's battle prowess was only equivalent to the peak of divine Qi uniting realm when he killed the Lord of Dragon Whale Island, but in just a few short months, his cultivation had increased by more than twofold compared to when he killed the Lord of Dragon Whale Island. The perfection of true energy to the perfection of Gang Qi caused him to possess strength that was not inferior to any expert at the peak of the unity of divine energy realm even if he did not use divine arts. Especially now, with the help of the continuous tempering of these 4 experts at the unity of divine energy realm, his control of his own strength was also constantly improving. The true combat strength that he could unleash was already above ordinary experts at the unity of divine energy realm. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, He Yan let out a mournful scream as his entire body was pierced through by Tsing Hui's sword. If Wen Yu had not immediately rushed forward and slammed into Tsing Hui's body, sending him flying, He Yan would have been torn to pieces by now. No. No. I can't hold on any longer. Even if the 5th rank divine art can extend the duration, it shouldn't extend to the extent of half an hour. The information that Yun Tao gave us is wrong. This brat is most likely a divine energy unity realm pinnacle expert. It's just that he has a method to conceal his aura, which is why Yun Tao mistakenly thought that he borrowed the power of a divine energy unity realm pinnacle expert. He Yan's screams caused Wen Yu, Madame Dogwood, and Nightingale to shiver. Madame Dogwood and Nightingale glanced at He Yan, who had almost died under Tsing Hui's sword, and felt a chill run down their spines. No matter what, we should retreat for now. It won't be too late to kill him after half a day. Even if he has a level 5 divine art, he still needs to wait a day before he can use it again. Even if the duration of the divine art is extended, it can't last for 12 hours. When you looked at the terrified Hunyuan, Madame Dogwood, and Nightingale and understood that they could not do anything about it. They could only choose to retreat. However, they had already alerted the enemy. If they retreated now, and Xing Hui took the opportunity to abandon Dragonslayer Island and flee, they might not be able to catch up to him, and they would miss a level 14 Son of Chaos. Madame Dogwood, bring up the rear and prevent him from chasing after us with his sword. Let's go. Hunyuan shouted unwillingly. She abruptly turned around and quickly retreated with Hunyuan and Nightingale. Although Madame Dogwood was severely exhausted, she had no choice but to step forward and bring up the rear, forcibly activating the soul-sucking bell to prevent Xing Hui from chasing after them with his sword. Seeing Hunyuan and the others turn to leave, Xing Hui's sword suddenly changed direction. Oh. It's only been half an hour, and you're already giving up. I still want to have a good fight with you and test out all my techniques. Since you're not willing, I'll do as you wish and end this battle in advance. In the next moment, a terrifying aura that was several times more powerful than before suddenly erupted from his body. The gang chi that was rising all over his body started to boil as he was unable to control it perfectly. It actually formed a huge sun behind him. In the huge sun, the golden crow spread its wings. Vast and blazing light and heat waves were emitted continuously, completely covering the sun's rays within a radius of several dozen kilometers. This is, sensing the change in Xing Hui's aura, Madame Dogwood, who was in charge of bringing up the rear, instantly froze. Divine art. Divine art. This is a true divine art. You've only been using your own abilities all this time. You're already at the peak of the unity of spirit realm. Hunyuan, Nightingale, and Hunyuan paled in fright. Whoosh! Xing Hui, who had activated his divine art, wanted to capture them alive as quickly as possible. Madame Dogwood, who was controlling the soul-sucking bell, felt her mind go blank, and then a blazing light filled her vision. Not good. Just as she sensed danger and was about to retreat, a sharp sword light pierced through her body. In an instant, her body was almost completely torn apart. The intense pain caused her to instantly fall unconscious. Run! 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 It's a trap! A trap! This is a trap! A trap set up by Yun Tao and the Dragon Slayer Island Master. Their goal is to capture us alive and force out our primal chaos incantation. Yun Tao. You'll die a horrible death. The organization won't let you off. The remaining 3 screamed in terror, each of them trying to escape as quickly as possible. However, Xing Hui, who had activated his divine art, was far stronger than a unity of spirit realm expert. Not to mention that Hunyuan, who was the strongest among them, was only at the late stage of the unity of spirit realm. Even if they all broke through to the blue netherworld realm, they still wouldn't be able to turn the situation around. Whoosh! The sword light pierced through the air. Rolling heat waves rumbled with a terrifying pressure that could shatter the heavens and earth. Before the tip of the sword arrived, the terrifying heat waves contained in the tip of the sword had already crushed over. For a moment, the 3 people who were escaping felt as if they had fallen into a sea of fire, being burned by the flames. They let out shrill screams, and the defensive armor that had merged with their protective chi crumbled in less than a moment. Stop! Stop! I'm Celestial Rock Spiritual Master's disciple. If you kill me, Celestial Rock Spiritual Master won't let you off. Trapped in the flames, Yi Xiao felt as if he was about to be burned to ashes, and he let out a painful scream. However, Xing Hui's attack didn't stop at all. The blazing golden crow's protective chi tore through Yi Xiao's protective armor and directly swallowed him. Then, it drilled into his body, destroying his dantian and true chi. There was even a strand of true chi that attacked his brain, piercing his spirit sea and causing his spirit to scatter. He couldn't even condense the primal chaos incantation to enter the primal chaos shrine. Yi Xiao was in such a state, and Wen Yu and He Yen were no exception. He Yen, in particular, was already severely injured. Before Tsing Hui's attack landed, the heat waves from the blazing sun behind him had already caused his entire body to spontaneously combust. After the blazing flames burned all of his protective qi, they invaded his body and wreaked havoc, finally piercing his spirit sea. Tsing Hui didn't really need to attack. This mid-stage unity of divine qi expert had already fallen unconscious due to the severe injury to his brain. Seeing Yi Xiao, Madame Zhu Yu, and He Yen captured alive without being able to resist, despair appeared on Wen Yu's face. Dragon Slayer Island Master, don't deprive me of my identity as the son of primal chaos. I know of a cave that was left behind by a saint-level expert. There are countless treasures inside. If you're willing, boom. Before he could finish speaking, Tsing Hui had already slashed down at him with the sword light that had triggered the golden crow's shadow behind him. Chapter 151. Xiao. In the direction of Dragon Beheading Island, Yun Tao and Dan Taiying led a group of flying riders and landed on the battleship that Wen Yu and the others were on. The cultivators on the battleship wanted to resist, but after witnessing the defeat of the four spirit and Qi Unison realm cultivators, they quickly lost their will to fight and knelt on the deck, trembling in fear and not daring to resist. Island Lord. After taking control of the battleship, Dan Taiying and Yun Tao quickly went to Tsing Hui and bowed. Yun Tao, the spirit and Qi Unison realm cultivator, looked at Tsing Hui with eyes full of reverence. They had also seen the battle between Tsing Hui and Wen Yu and the other spirit and Qi Unison realm cultivators. At the beginning, when he saw that Tsing Hui's strength was not inferior to the peak of the spirit and Qi Unison realm, Yun Tao was a little flustered. He did not expect Tsing Hui to reveal his trump card so quickly. However, at the last moment, Tsing Hui's aura rose and broke through the spirit and Qi Unison realm barrier and reached the Qing Ming realm. All the panic disappeared and was replaced by heartfelt reverence for this mysterious island lord. Not only Yun Tao, but Dan Taiying also felt the same. At this moment, she could not understand whether Tsing Hui was a true Qi realm cultivator or a top-notch almighty who restrained his aura. Usually, he would only release the tip of the iceberg when he encountered a danger that he could not solve with his current strength. Return to the city. Tsing Hui said. Immediately, the battleship was controlled and headed towards Dragon Beheading Island. Wen Yu's battleship was at the third rank and had been modified. It was not inferior to a normal fourth-rank battleship, especially its outstanding speed. It could reach 300 kilometers in an hour. Naturally, it had to be kept well. In the future, it could even be used as the flagship of Dragon Beheading Island. Moreover, although the spirit refining, true Qi, and awakening realm cultivators that Wen Yu brought were not many, there were still close to 100 of them. These people could also be recruited for their own use. Being overseas, they had always served their own master. Spirit refining cultivators like Wu Yu who were completely loyal to a city lord were too few in number. Most of the spirit refining cultivators, as long as there were enough benefits and their safety was guaranteed, they would not have much of an objection to serving a new master. Yun Tao, I remember you said that anyone who wants to join your organization has to hand over a Daoist item that contains 10 Daoist rhymes. Moreover, before you invited the four of them here, you asked each of them to hand over a Daoist vessel that contained 10 Daoist rhymes as collateral for the mission. After entering the city lord mansion, Tsing Hui turned to Yun Tao and asked. Exactly. Alright, let's interrogate the four of them properly. The four of them joined the organization with 10 Daoist rhymes worth of items to carry 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 Daoist rhymes worth of items, Tsing Hui said. The four of them together were equivalent to having a Daoist vessel that contained 80 Daoist rhymes. It would not be an exaggeration to say that they were rich. With this Taoist vessel that contained 80 Taoist rhymes, Tsing Hui's cultivation techniques and resources would be properly settled. When the time comes, he would not have to take the risk of going overseas to kill the rank 5 Jueying. This I will do my best, but I'm afraid that they would rather die than comply. That will depend on your methods. Many times, they will not die just because they have the will to die. I can promise them that if they hand over everything they have and hand over their primal chaos rank, I will give them a way out. Speaking till here, Tsing Hui's tone slightly paused. Leave Madame Zhu Yu. I happen to have a soul-scattering pill. Her soul-absorbing bell's effect is extraordinary and will be useful to me. The soul-absorbing bell had a great impact on him. Moreover, this divine weapon was an attack on one's spiritual will. Since his spiritual level had reached the 47th level, it had become difficult for him to advance further. He could borrow the power of the soul-absorbing bell to polish his will. Only by raising his spiritual level would he have the confidence to step into the realm of divine Qi unity. Island Master is benevolent. If there is hope for survival, I believe that the four of them will not miss it. No matter how good the divine weapon is, it is not as important as their own lives. Yun Tao said with a slight sigh of relief. Go. Tsing Hui said and quickly returned to his room. As he waved his hand, several divine weapons appeared in front of him. They were the items he obtained from defeating Wen Yu and the other three. Among these divine weapons, the most valuable one was naturally Xuanwu's armor of the middle grade level 5. In terms of value, it was not inferior to Tsing Hui's Crimson Dragon Sword. After all, compared to offensive divine weapons, defensive divine weapons were more precious. High-grade offensive divine weapons were occasionally sold on the market, but defensive treasures were usually hidden by people. Even if they appeared briefly, they would be bought at a high price. Another armor of the water attribute, Tsing Hui glanced at Xuanwu's armor and shook his head. However, there was no vexation on his face. High-grade defensive divine weapons are difficult to purchase, but it is not difficult to exchange with others. I remember that the Azura King Hun Sha has a defensive armor of the 5th level fire attribute. Although it is only of the lower grade level 5, if I exchange this middle grade level 5 water attribute armor with him, I think he will not refuse. The only thing he needed to be careful of was, the Azura King did not have a good reputation. He usually roamed the sea and did many things that angered the heavens. However, his cultivation was shocking. He was ranked 96th on the top 100 of the Divine Dragon Roll. Moreover, he was very good at preserving his life. More than once, there were people in the top 100 of the Divine Dragon Roll who had tried to kill him, but he had successfully escaped. As a result, he was still at large. 96th on the Divine Dragon Roll, Tsing Hui muttered to himself. In the next moment, a cold light flashed in his eyes. Then, his gaze fell on the Black Hole Sutra. The Black Hole Sutra recorded a secret technique called skyward travel. It was a secret technique that was similar to teleportation. This secret technique did not have the Kuan Ping bloodline. Although there were some restrictions and the effect was not satisfactory, but, if he was prepared, the Divine Qi integration realm was enough. Island Master, a day later, Yun Tao appeared in front of Tsing Hui. From his slightly haggard eyes, one could see that he had spent a lot of effort in the past 2 days to interrogate them about the Tao-bearing artifacts. They're all willing to hand over the Tao-bearing artifacts in their possession, but, they keep saying that they have to apply for the Tao-bearing artifacts from the organization before they can be repaid. In the process, they'll have to deal with other higher-ups in the organization. If you want to get the Tao-bearing artifacts back when you leave the organization, do you have to go through this step? This subordinate doesn't know. However, I've heard that in similar situations, the probability of the organization returning the Tao-bearing artifacts is very low. Even if it's returned, they'll use various reasons to withhold the Tao-bearing artifacts. In the end, the Tao-bearing artifacts that contain 1 or 2 points of Tao-bearing aura will fall into the hands of the Son of Chaos, in other words, the Tao-bearing artifacts with 10 points of Tao-bearing aura are equivalent to the membership fee. Nominally, they're only mortgaged, but in reality, the organization's higher-ups have embezzled them. What kind of cohesive force does an organization like this rely on? Information exchange. The organization has powerful information channels, and they'll often publicize this information. This information either records the location of the Tao-bearing artifacts or the location of the Son of Chaos true body. Of course, the locations of the Tao-bearing artifacts and the true body of the Son of Chaos are generally not easy to deal with. It often requires many people in the organization to work together to eliminate them. This is also the reason why our organization can maintain its operations. After hearing this, Tsing Hui more or less understood. How many people are in your organization? How strong are the higher-ups? This subordinate doesn't know how many people there are in the organization. Because our organization is in fact a gray industry, the number of members is very unclear. Based on the information I have and the information I've interrogated from Hunyuan and the other three, I estimate that there are no less than 60 people in the organization. Most of them are at the spirit refining realm or the divine qi integration realm. Moreover, among the 6 higher-ups that we know, 3 of them are at the green netherworld realm. Green netherworld realm. What about their chaos realm? They're all higher than the 10th level. 10th level, divine art. This was the dividing line between ordinary sons of chaos and high-level sons of chaos. When a green netherworld son of chaos used the divine art, all his attributes would be increased by 10, and he would have the attributes of a prominent divine realm expert. Many times, he could directly turn the tide of a battle. Then will forcefully withdraw. As Tsing Hui spoke, he faintly felt that it was a pity. If they forcefully withdrew, the Tao-bearing artifacts that were pawned in the organization would naturally be wasted. That was an Tao-bearing artifact with 40 Tao-bearing artifacts. An Tao-bearing artifact with 40 Tao-bearing artifacts. After a moment, Tsing Hui seemed to have thought of something and suddenly said, "Wait a moment. Island Lord. You're dismissed. I'll give you an order later if you want to forcefully withdraw." Yes. Yun Tao left the study, puzzled. Immediately, Tsing Hui went directly to the Primal Chaos Temple. Forming a seal, he directly appeared in Nalan Fei's personal space. "Pak Hui. You came at the right time. I was just about to look for you. Wait a moment." In Nalan Fei's personal space, there were 2 guests. One of them was Jinyu, whom Tsing Hui had met once before, and the other was a young man who looked elegant. Then it's settled. The 3 of us, the 2 of you will each provide 5 Tao-bearing artifacts. A total of 20 Tao-bearing artifacts will be shared in the God Refining Pavilion. The man stood up and said with a smile. "Okay. Goodbye." After discussing with Nalan Fei, the man nodded politely at Tsing Hui. His figure flashed and disappeared without a trace. "Jinyu, you're really charming. Xia Tian has unlimited potential and is a genius who has the potential to condense divine-grade true essence. Once he condenses divine-grade true essence, it's equivalent to stepping into the ranks of high-level members. At that time, with his relationship, it won't be difficult to enter the council. His future is limitless." Jinyu, who hadn't left yet, teased with a playful look. "Don't talk nonsense. He's a member of a large sect in the infinite wilderness, and I'm far away in the eastern wilderness. We're tens of millions of miles apart." Nalan Fei glared at Jinyu with some embarrassment and anger. "Hee, but both of you are very young. Xia Tian has cultivated for less than 80 years, and you have less than 40 years. Once the prominent divine battle physique is formed, your lifespan will be 500 years. When you reach the Saint Realm and condense the leakless golden core, your lifespan will be 3,000 years. The future is very long." Jinyu narrowed her eyes and smiled. Chapter 152. The immortal level was the beginning of immortality. Normally, after awakening, one would have a lifespan of 200 years. When one reached the spirit chi uniting level, one's lifespan could reach 300 years. When one reached the prominent divine stage, one could theoretically live for 500 years. Of course, these were just theoretical numbers. Just like a normal person, according to the number of cell divisions, one could theoretically live up to 120 years old. However, most people would die by the time they reached 70 or 80 years old. It was the same for the immortal level. Taking the spirit chi uniting level as an example, after 150 years old, one's cultivation would gradually decline and it would be difficult to break through. As for lifespan, it was usually around 200 years old. The above were all examples of normal and spiritual bloodlines. Awakening different bloodlines would increase one's lifespan. For example, the Xuanwu type of immortal level bloodline would increase one's lifespan by several times compared to normal people. In addition, when one reached the level of sacred beasts and divine beasts, one's lifespan would increase again. Even if there was an awakening level practitioner who awakened a divine beast bloodline, it wouldn't be strange for them to live longer than normal bloodline practitioners of the spirit chi uniting level. Hundreds of years, thousands of years later, who knows what will happen. Okay, I have something to say to Pak Hui. Jin Yu shrugged. Considering that Pak Hui could be as high as 16 chaotic level, she said to him warmly, Pak Hui, if you have time, why don't you come over to my place and get to know each other? Now that we're all members of Sky Dome, we should get to know each other more. Xing Hui nodded, I will. Okay, then I won't disturb your secret plan. I'm leaving. Jin Yu waved her hand. Although she had a gossipy heart, she quickly left. After she left, Naylan Fei went straight to the point, the Hunyuan Heaven Sect's sweeping target has been set. It's the Yuheng Sea Market area. Yuheng. Xing Hui nodded. Yuheng Sea Market was a little far from Dragon Slaying Island, so there was no need to worry. However, according to the information that Master revealed, this matter involves a lot of people. It even involves the other two major chaotic organizations. Therefore, the sweeping area is very likely to expand. The forces included will also increase from the Hunyuan Heaven Sect to the Wuji Sword Sect, the Jinwu religion, the Green Lotus Sword Sect, and the number 1 sect in the Eastern Wilderness, the Create Evolve Mysterious Sect. The Hunyuan Heaven Sect, Wuji Sword Sect, the Jinwu religion, Create Evolve, the Evolve Create. Half of the 10 great sacred lands, and even the Create Evolve Mysterious Sect is involved. The sweeping this time is related to the Wuji Sword Sect. I'm sure you know that the Wuji Sword Sect inherited the Killing Sword Path before the Divine Wilderness was destroyed. The Killing Sword Path has a giant figure called the Netherworld Sword Ancestor. He awakened the Netherworld Dragon bloodline and relied on his special talent to survive until now. The Netherworld Sword Ancestor is a core member of the Sword Shadow, one of the 10 major chaotic organizations. It is also because of his secret support that the Wuji Sword Sect can develop to such a scale and even fight against the Create Evolve Mysterious Sect, which has the support of the Heavenly Tao. Xing Hui nodded. After entering the Sky Dome Sect, he more or less understood the 10 major chaotic organizations. The 10 major chaotic organizations could be divided into 2 ranks. The top 3, the Divine Wilderness, Heavenly Tao, and Eternal, were the first rank. The 3 organizations were similar in strength, and it was difficult to distinguish the first, second, and third ranks. Behind the Divine Wilderness, Heavenly Tao, and Eternal were the 7 major organizations in the second rank, including the Sky Dome Sect and Sword Shadow. The Divine Wilderness, Heavenly Tao, and Eternal were the 3 major organizations. In order to become the master of the Chaos Divine Hall, it could be said that they fought endlessly. Naturally, killing and fighting for resources were unavoidable. At the same time, it also reduced the living space of the other organizations, which caused the other chaotic organizations to be dissatisfied. Sword Shadow was one of the chaotic organizations that was dissatisfied with the Heavenly Tao and fought against the Heavenly Tao. This chaotic organization was not weak, and its headquarters were not in Heaven Wasteland. Even if it offended the Heavenly Tao would not dare to leave Heaven Wasteland and invade. Otherwise, once it was empty, the eternal and divine wilderness would not mind taking the opportunity to add insult to injury. Not long ago, a grand elder of the Create-Evolve mysterious sect received the support of the Heavenly Tao and was bestowed with a precious treasure. He had a breakthrough in his cultivation and his power reached an unprecedented peak. The pressure he exerted on the other sects was even greater. Half a year ago, Hunyuan Heaven Sect's peak master Huayu and Create-Evolve mysterious sect's true disciple Long Yi both took a fancy to the master of the Luohua sect. When they fought for the master of the Luohua sect, Long Yi directly asked an elder of the sect to kill peak master Huayu, which infuriated the entire Hunyuan Heaven sect. But the forces behind the Hunyuan Heaven sect feared the Heavenly Tao and ordered the Hunyuan Heaven sect not to act rashly. In anger, the Hunyuan Heaven sect changed its course and planned to join the Sword Shadow sect through the Wuxia Sword sect. When the Sword Shadow sect heard about this, a Grand Elder's clone descended to investigate. This purge is in fact a way for the Hunyuan Heaven sect to prove its ability and determination to the Grand Elder of the Sword Shadow sect. Xing Hui immediately understood why the Hunyuan Heaven sect had chosen Yuhengxi City as their target. 13,000 kilometers north of Yuhengxi City was the Creation Mystical sect's outpost for overseas expansion. The Saint stage was different from the Immortal stage. There was a huge gap between each stage of the Immortal level. A true energy realm powerhouse could easily kill dozens of awakening stage cultivators. However, the gap between the Saint stage cultivators was not that big before they reached the 5th level and cultivated divine powers. A dozen Immortal Stage 6 experts could kill a true Energy Stage expert. A dozen True Energy Stage experts could also kill a Transcendent Stage Saint. After all, the Transcendent Stage was only a kind of control over one's strength. One could use one's strength to produce 2 times the effect, but there was no obvious increase in one's strength. As for the never-ending stage, it allowed one's true energy to grow and multiply endlessly without fear of exhaustion. In such a situation, it wasn't difficult for a never-ending stage saint to kill 100 transcendent stage saints in a one-on-one battle, but in a large-scale battle, true energy grew and multiplied endlessly, so the advantage wasn't obvious. After that, the flawless golden core of the saint stage for mainly increased one's lifespan. Because the difference between these 4 stages was small, the number of saints became the main factor. However, it was fortunate that the gap between Immortal level and Saint level was relatively small. That was why the Golden Crow sect, Green Lotus Sword sect, Giant Dragon Mountain Range, and other forces that did not have Saint-level powerhouses could force their way into the top 10 Saint sections. What are the Jin Wu religion and Green Lotus Sword sect doing here? These 2 sects have also been persecuted by the Creation Mystical sect for a long time, especially the Green Lotus Sword sect. The sect leader of the Green Lotus Sword sect, Yi, can be said to be an amazing talent. She cultivated to the prominent divine stage at a young age and is the leader of the Green Lotus Sword sect's revival. Unfortunately, the Green Lotus Sword sect and the Creation Mystical sect are neighbors, and more than half of them have been swallowed by the Creation Mystical sect. If they don't change, they will be destroyed by the Creation Mystical sect sooner or later. Now, they are cooperating with the Hunyuan Heaven sect and the Wuxia Sword sect to see if they can find a way out for their sect. Every sect has its own difficulties. Xing Hui said. Isn't it the same? Everyone has their own problems, from small individuals to large sections. Isn't it the same for our Sky Dome? Once the Sky Dome, the Eternal Sect, and the Divine Wilderness Sect become the master of the Chaos Shrine, there will be no place for small forces like us. This was the second time Xing Hui heard Nalan Fei mention controlling the Chaos Shrine. He couldn't help but ask, can the Chaos Shrine be controlled? I've only read about it in the books of the Sky Dome sect. Some of the chaos shrines are controlled by others. Once a chaos organization controls the chaos shrine, they will be able to obtain great benefits and grow rapidly. When that time comes, the balance between the various chaos organizations will be broken. Unless others join the chaos organization represented by the master of the chaos shrine, it will be difficult for them to advance. Speaking of this, Nalan Fei shook her head. But it's still too early to talk about this. Back when the divine wilderness was at its peak, it didn't even control the chaos temple. Now that the three factions are in a stalemate, there's even less of an opportunity to do so. The upper echelons of our Sky Vault Empire probably understand this point, so they ignore the struggle between the three factions and are happy to let them exhaust each other. The Divine Wilderness sect was an organization spontaneously formed by the Sons of Chaos during the Divine Wilderness sect. Xinghui wanted to go to the Divine Wilderness to inquire about Dongqian's whereabouts, but he was only a small figure in the Sky Dome sect. No one would care even if he asked, so he could only suppress his thoughts. Pak Hui, you must have something to discuss with me since you've come to find me, right? Yes. Xinghui nodded and told Wen Yu and the others about the Chaos Organization. In the end, he said, with my current cultivation, if I really go and take the Dao-carrying item from the Chaos Organization, I'm afraid I'll be attacked by them. Therefore, I plan to ask the Purple Sky Sage to personally take action. I hope that the Purple Sky Sage can send a Divine Chi Unity Realm clone to the Eastern Wilderness so that the Chaos Organization won't dare to act rashly. After the matter is done, I'm willing to share the 40 Dao-carrying item with me equally with Purple Sky Sage. Sending a Divine Chi Unity Realm clone to the Eastern Wilderness consumes a lot of Yuan Chi. Master's recovery rate isn't high, so he'll probably need 3 to 4 years to recover. However, it's worth it to get the 20 Dao-carrying item. Nalan Fei paused for a moment. However, I can give you a suggestion. Although it's a little risky, the success rate is extremely high. What suggestion? You can visit them directly as an official member of the Celestial Dome Empire and use the Celestial Dome Empire's name to intimidate them. You've said it yourself. Although the Chaos Organization is somewhat capable, they're only some level 10 green underworld realm higher-ups at most. In their eyes, the Celestial Dome Empire is an out-and-out colossus. Once the Celestial Dome Empire is enraged and starts a war with the Chaos, it can easily crush them into ashes. I don't think they have the guts to act rashly again. Use the Celestial Dome Empire's name to act. Xinghui's heart skipped a beat. He had forgotten that he was now a person with an organization and background. Yes, the Celestial Dome Empire's name has a great influence in the Chaos Temple. Ordinary chaos organizations may not have the courage to go against it. Of course, there's a risk in doing this. If those people are extremely vicious and don't give the Celestial Dome Empire any face at all and kill you, then you'll be in danger. Therefore, you need to think about it carefully. I understand. How can there be no sacrifice if you want to gain something? Xinghui made up his mind and said, I'll visit the Chaos Organization and talk to them directly. Chapter 153. The Dark Night. It was a chaos organization in the Eastern Wilderness. More than 90% of its members were Eastern Wilderness native cultivators, and most of these Sons of Chaos were from overseas. Compared to other chaos organizations, this chaos organization was more like an information exchange platform. Everyone in the organization was wary of and on guard against each other, and the reason why it could survive was entirely due to the drive of profit and the collateral of every mission. Fortunately, due to the fact that the entire organization was doing business without any capital, everyone was able to reap good profits. Over the past few decades, not only did this organization not become disloyal, but it also grew stronger under the drive of profit. So far, it had 63 official members, and it was one of the famous large-scale chaos organizations in the entire Eastern Wilderness Child of Chaos world. But now, Blood River, Sky Border, and Night Gentleman, 3 of the 6 leaders of the Dark Knight, looked rather grim. Is it really an official member of Sky Dome? Did you see it clearly? Sky Dome's official members are of the highest quality, and you must cultivate divine-grade Gang Chi to be qualified. Without divine-grade Gang Chi, even if you're a top expert who has cultivated divine ability, you can only become a member of the council at best. Don't even think about having the qualifications of an official member or a high-ranking member. Blood River looked at Sky Border, who had suddenly summoned the two of them, with shock on his face. There are hundreds and thousands of chaos organizations in the entire Chaos Temple. I might not be able to recognize an ordinary chaos organization member, but how can I not recognize the badge of an official member of Sky Dome? Everyone, quickly give us a result. We can't let that official member of Sky Dome wait for too long. Since he said that when you, Madame Zhu Yu, Hei Yen, and Night Owl have become his servants, we might as well let them be. Otherwise, if we forcefully suppress the 4 of them and arouse their dissatisfaction, things might not end well. Don't forget what happened to the large-scale divine punishment not long ago. Divine punishment, when Sky Border mentioned this large-scale chaos organization, Blood River and Night Gentleman's hearts trembled at the same time. This was a colossus that possessed a 6th-level Saint Realm expert. In the entire Tianhuang region, this was an existence that was only inferior to the First Hall, the 3 sects, the 6 schools, and the 9 sects. However, such a colossal top-notch power that even possessed a large number of high-level chaos organizations had been crushed by Tianqiong. Not only had all the sons of chaos been stripped of their cultivation, the divine punishment's forces in the real world had been uprooted as well. Countless Immortality Realm and Saint Realm experts had been killed on the spot. Saint Realm, in the eastern wilderness, this was a top existence that could support of a holy land. Such people were killed at will, and hundreds of them were killed as if they were vegetables. Just thinking about it was terrifying. Although an official member of Sky Dome can't represent Sky Dome, and it's impossible for Sky Dome to start a chaos war with us for an official member, don't forget that Sky Dome has as many experts as there are clouds in the sky. There are even dozens of almighty experts who have cultivated divine abilities and have even reached the lawful embodiment of heaven and earth. It's said that there are even dominators who have cultivated domains and stepped into the Saint Realm. If such a force wants to crush us, it doesn't need to start a chaos war at all. It only needs one almighty expert of the divine ability realm to send a clone of the divine Chi Unite realm to sweep the entire Dark Night. Sky Border said solemnly. Alright, then let's do it like this. Let those 4 go. 40 Dao-bearing items. There was a trace of pain in Blood River's eyes. That's all we can do. Night Gentleman didn't dare to say anything. Compared to a colossus like Sky Dome, the Dark Knight was too insignificant. Go prepare the Dao-carrying items. Night Gentleman, World's Edge, I remember that you still have some Dao-carrying items stored in your personal storage. Let's each take out a 13-point Dao-carrying item. I'll take a bit more, 14 points. That's it. We have to report this matter. After the 3 leaders had finished their discussion, they quickly came to the parlor to meet Xing Hui. Your Excellency Pak Hui. Sky Border stepped forward and politely cupped his hands at Xing Hui, who was waiting in the parlor. In terms of cultivation base, he, a blue netherworld expert, was 2 realms higher than the young man in front of him, but, a divine-grade stellar energy cultivator, when Sky Border, Blood River, Night Gentleman, and the others thought about the potential in him, their hearts trembled. If they really provoked the young man, with his terrifyingly rich accumulation of stellar energy, as long as the young man lowered his requirements for them, they could rush to the spirit and chi integration stage in a matter of minutes, and even advance to the blue netherworld realm in a short time. Your Excellency Pak Hui, it's the fortune of Wenyu, Zhu Yu, Yi Xiao, and Hei Yen to be your followers. They have such a future and can climb up to a big shot like your Excellency Pak Hui. Naturally, we won't stop them. We'll hand over the items that belong to them. I wonder where your Excellency Pak Hui would be convenient. Sky Border said with a smile. Xing Hui looked at Sky Border. He didn't expect that by announcing his identity as an official member of Sky Dome and asking the higher-ups of the Dark Knight to return when you and the other three's Dao-bearing items, things would go so smoothly that he found it unbelievable. The scene in front of him made him truly understand the feeling of a fox borrowing the tiger's might. I remember that your Dark Knight's range of activity has always been in the overseas region. It just so happens that Zhu Yu is now in the overseas region, so let's set the transfer location overseas. How about Shaoyang Sea City? Okay, as Your Excellency Pak Hui said, it's in Shaoyang Sea City. Sky Border nodded slightly. Then it's settled. I didn't expect that our eastern wilderness could produce an official member of Sky Dome. It's really a great honor for all of us. Your Excellency Pak Hui, this is the method to enter and exit our Dark Knight Chaotic World Space Station. If Your Excellency Pak Hui is free, you might as well come visit our Dark Knight. There are very few sons of chaos in the eastern wilderness, and we don't have a leader. Generally, we're like scattered sand, and we're easy to bully and humiliate by others. We need to be united. Sky Border stepped forward and ingratiatingly handed Xing Hui a method to open a personal space. Obviously, he had taken a fancy to Xing Hui's potential as a son of chaos who had cultivated divine-grade Gang Qi, and wanted to befriend him before he made a name for himself. In fact, if a divine-grade Gang Qi practitioner went to the 10 sacred sects, he would also be groomed as a holy son or a junior leader. After all, even in the 10 sacred sects, there was often not one person in a generation who could cultivate divine-grade Gang Qi to divine-grade. I'll come when I have time. Then, I'll have to trouble you. Xing Hui said. It's fine, it's fine. This is what we should do. Your Excellency Pak Hui, if you have any business in the future, you might as well come to us. There are many things that Your Excellency Pak Hui can't handle with your status, we can do it for you. Blood River Traveler said politely. Xing Hui had a little understanding of the nature of this chaos organization, so he didn't refuse his words. He just nodded and said, if there's a chance, we can indeed cooperate. Goodbye. Your Excellency Pak Hui, take care. With several people sending him off, Xing Hui disappeared from this personal space. After seeing Xing Hui leave, Blood River Traveler, Night Gentleman, and Sky's Edge looked at each other with a trace of helplessness. However, there was no resentment in their eyes. This member of Sky's Vault is quite easy to talk to. Moreover, he looks rather young, based on his appearance, he can't have cultivated for more than 50 years. 50 years, to cultivate divine-grade Gang Qi, he really has extraordinary potential. But the Chaos Temple can adjust one's appearance, so it's not easy to judge his age from his appearance. If he's really only cultivated for 50 years, we can get in touch with him. A son of chaos like him is bound to have a boundless future. Blood River Traveler. Tianya and Yi Junzi nodded their heads in agreement. The business that we do in the Eventide can be said to be licking the blood of blades. If we don't find a backer, then once we're targeted by a great figure one day, our end will absolutely not be good. If this Bai Su really has potential, then we can take him as a path of retreat. A treasure containing 40 daos is incredibly valuable. I'll personally deliver it to him and see if I can find out the true identity of this Pak Hui. After that, I'll take a closer look. Sky's Edge said. Investigate. If he finds out, he'll probably offend this official member of Sky's Vault. Don't worry, I'll be careful. Even if the investigation progress is slow, he won't notice anything unusual. Blood River Traveler and Night Gentleman could only nod when they saw how cautious he was. Alright, then we'll have to trouble you. This is all for the future of US brothers. If we want to clear our names, this is the only way. Sky's Edge sighed. When Blood River and Night Gentleman heard this, they nodded their heads with serious expressions. The people outside could only see the scenery of the dark night. How could they see the astonishing risk that they were taking? If it weren't for the fact that they had no other choice, who wouldn't want to cultivate in peace? Why would they do such a precarious business? When Xing Hui reappeared in his courtyard, Yun Tao was already waiting for him with Madame Dogwood. Greetings, Island Master. When Madame Dogwood saw Xing Hui, she hurriedly stepped forward and bowed respectfully. Very good. Xing Hui sized up Madame Dogwood. He could sense the reverence she felt for him. Clearly, she'd already taken the soul-dispersing pill. Yun Tao, make a trip to Shaoyang City with Madame Dogwood in a moment. I've taken back the treasures they've pledged to Dark Knight. Go and retrieve them. You want them back? Yun Tao trembled slightly, then hurriedly bowed. Yes. Treasures containing 40 Taoist rhymes. Originally, Qing Su wanted to ask for it personally, but he could not guarantee that the people of Dark Knight would not be hiding something and try to kill him once they locked onto his true identity. As a result, it was safer for Yun Tao and Madame Zhu Yu to go. After all, these two were Unity of Spirit Realm experts. As long as they didn't offend the top 400 on the Divine Dragon ranking, they could do whatever they wanted. Go quickly and return quickly. Xing Hui waved his hand. With so many Taoist rhymes and Sky Dome's platform to exchange for cultivation resources, his cultivation was bound to advance by leaps and bounds. As expected, it was nice to lean against a big tree. After joining Sky Dome, his cultivation had become much smoother. Chapter 154. With Tianqiong's name above them, the people of the Dark Knight did not dare to have any other thoughts. Madame Zhu Yu and Yun Tao's journey was very smooth. When they returned, they already had 40 Taoist rhymes in their hands. This Tao-carrying item contained 40 Taoist rhymes. In addition to the other items he obtained from Wen Yu, He Yan, Yi Shao, and Madame Zhu Yu, the total number of Taoist rhymes in the Tao-carrying item reached an astonishing 88. 88 Taoist rhymes was almost equivalent to a chaos level. Xing Hui had become rich overnight. Very good. Qing Su looked at the 34 items that contained the presence of Wei's in his hand and immediately sucked in a deep breath. Normally, a son of chaos would absorb a Tao-carrying object as soon as he obtained one. Even if he wanted to keep the Tao-carrying object to exchange for a weapon, he wouldn't need too many of them. Now that there were 34 Tao-carrying objects with a total of 88 Tao-carrying objects in front of him, if the upper echelons of the 10 sacred sects were to find out about it, they would definitely send an immortality level 6 powerhouse to intercept them. It's not good to keep these items in my hands. The most important thing is to use them quickly and convert them into strength. Xing Hui ordered Yun Tao and Madame Zhu Yu to guard outside the door. Then, he performed a chaos spell and appeared in the Chaos Temple. If it was in the past, without Tianqiong's connections, he would not know what to do with so many items. But now, with Sky Dome's back and Sky Dome's channel, Sky Dome would be able to consume even an item with 888 Taoist rhymes, let alone an item with 88 Taoist rhymes. According to his understanding, the items prepared by Tianqiong contained more than 1,000 Taoist rhymes. During the last battle with God's punishment, Tianqiong took out hundreds of items with more than 2,000 Taoist rhymes. After entering the Chaos Temple, Xing Hui performed a spell to enter Nalan Fei's personal space. He did not get a response, so he could only enter the Sky Dome realm and go to the Scripture Hall to find Zhongzhen the Venerable. Greetings, Venerable. Zhongzhen the Venerable, who was reading a book, put it down. It's you, Pak Hui. What's the matter? Esteemed Lord, I already have some Tao-carrying items in my hands. How can I return them to you? Oh. She was pregnant. That's pretty fast. Are you from the Eastern Barren Territory? Although that place is not far away, it's not near either. I'm too lazy to go there. Wait, let me ask if anyone is going to the Eastern Wilderness recently. As Master Zhongzhen spoke, he took out a piece of jade and seemed to be contacting his friend. Not long after, he frowned slightly. No one has made an appointment to the Eastern Wilderness in the past 3 months. The Eastern Wilderness Son of Chaos is not going to make it. The efficiency of collecting Tao-carrying artifacts is too slow. No one wants to go, and even the weakest incarnation of mine will have to rest for several months. Please. Keep the Tao-carrying artifacts. When someone wants to go, I'll ask them to bring it to me. Upon hearing this, Tsing Hui's heart skipped a beat. May I ask a question? What level has Master Tsongjin's personal space reached? The master of Tsongjin glanced at Ching Su. Kid, your question is indeed very presumptuous, but there's no harm in telling you. Back when heaven was first established, it was me and Sang Qiong who ran around everywhere, so our personal spaces were of relatively higher levels. He's reached the 10th level, while I'm still a little short, but I've reached the 8th level. Level 8, Tsing Hui's eyes lit up. I have many Tao-carrying artifacts with me. Can I ask Master Tsongjin to bring the items I need to the Eastern Wilderness? Oh. It's not easy to make me move. You have to prepare items with at least 20 Tao-carrying auras. It's definitely a transaction with at least 20 Tao-carrying auras. Tsing Hui said. His words caused Tsongjin the Venerable Master's expression to become slightly serious. His gaze also started to size Chuli up. It seems that you have recently made a small fortune. Alright, what do you need to buy? Bring it over and let me take a look. Some divine weapons and armors. Of course, the most important thing is that I want to use the Refining God Pavilion after I hand in enough Tao-carrying auras. Refining God Pavilion. Opening it requires at least 20 Tao-carrying auras. Ordinary people might not be able to afford it. It seems like you're really lucky. As for divine weapons and armors, let me check the prices in the Eastern Wilderness. The prices in the Eastern Wilderness are so high. One Tao-carrying aura can only be exchanged for a level 4 divine weapon. It can't be. Let me see. The organizations in the Eastern Wilderness are deliberately inflating the prices to maintain their rule in the Eastern Wilderness. Otherwise, according to the cultivation level of the Eastern Wilderness, one Tao-carrying aura would be worth at least a level 5 divine weapon. As a member of Heaven Vault, we can even give you a discount of one Tao-carrying aura for a level 6 divine weapon. Master Tsongjin looked at Tsing Hui for a while, then looked up at him and said, the prices are set by the Chaos Temple and the many Chaos organizations. It's related to the interests of all the Chaos organizations. I can't open the back door for you. If you want to spend one Tao-carrying aura to buy a level 9 divine weapon, you have to come to the Eastern Wilderness personally. Tsing Hui nodded. As he joined Heaven Vault, he already knew the truth about the monopolization of many small continents' resources and prices. One Tao-carrying aura could buy a level 8 divine weapon in the Eastern Wilderness. If he joined some big forces, he could even get a level 9 divine weapon at a discount. If he met an almighty who needed Tao-carrying aura, he could even exchange it for a level 10 divine weapon. However, in a small place like the Eastern Wilderness, he had to follow the prices in the Eastern Wilderness. Otherwise, if the prices were raised, people from other big forces would have to pay 10 times or even 100 times more if they wanted to trade for Tao-carrying auras. It was precisely because of that many Chaos organizations had reached a consensus for their own interests. When trading goods, they had to consider the local prices. Even if the price was raised, it could not be raised by too much. The prices in the Eastern Barren Territory have been inflated too much by your local sections. One Daoist connotation can only be exchanged for one 4th level divine weapon. Even if you're a member of the Sky Dome sect, we can only give you a discount of one Daoist connotation for a 5th level divine weapon. Of course, it's still very simple for us to make things easier for you. As for 5th level divine weapons, the lower 5th level ones are 5th level ones, and the upper 5th level ones are also 5th level ones. Here, I'll give you a price list. 5th-level divine weapons have 1 Taoist connotation, 5th-level armors have 2 Taoist connotations, special 5th-level treasures have 3 to 10 Taoist connotations, 6th-level divine weapons have 10 Taoist connotations, and so on. After Tsangzhen finished speaking, he asked impatiently, "You can actually afford to spend Tao ripples to go to the Refining God Pavilion? You must have a lot of Tao ripples on you. Do you want to go to the Great Sun Core and cultivate for a while? I can give you a discount that is only available to core members. You only need to pay 10 Tao ripples a month. I can even sell you a portion of golden blood for 3 Tao ripples. 10 Tao ripples a month. 3 Tao ripples of golden blood." Tsing Hui was slightly stunned. He had already understood the contribution points required to cultivate at the Great Sun Core in the Sky Dome sect. 100 contribution points a day, which was 1 Tao ripple a day. On the other hand, the price of golden blood was 1,000 contribution points, which was 10 Tao ripples. As Tsangzhen was a core member, he only needed to pay 1/3 of the price to exchange for these items and use these facilities. That was why it was so cheap. Now that Tsangzhen was willing to make things easier for him, if he cultivated at the Great Sun Core, it would be equivalent to saving 26 Tao ripples, 26 Tao ripples. This had already exceeded the total number of Tao ripples he had before he became the dragon-slaying island owner. All right. I'm willing to go. Also, if possible, I would like to apply. Kid, don't be greedy. What's the use of cultivating at the Great Sun Core for a year if you can't make a breakthrough in your cultivation? Tsangzhen interrupted Tsing Hui. Suddenly, Tsing Hui calmed down. The level of his mental strength had become the biggest problem that limited his cultivation. What he really needed wasn't to cultivate at the Great Sun Core to absorb the essence of the Great Sun but, to refine his mental strength. Only when his mental strength level increased would he have the hope to achieve the unification of spirit and qi. Thank you for enlightening me, Master Tsangzhen. You're worth teaching. Tsangzhen nodded his head in satisfaction and took out a jade talisman. Cultivation needs to be done step by step. You don't have to rush to cultivate at the Great Sun Core. You can follow me to the Great Sun Core after you leave the Refinement God Pavilion. I have a list of items that you can purchase here. Take a look and see if there's anything you like. All right. Qing Su answered cautiously. He accepted the jade talisman and split a portion of his consciousness to examine it carefully. There was a huge amount of information in the jade talisman. Moreover, in addition to the items that could be exchanged, there were also some personal items that Tsangzhen had taken out. However, the items that could catch the eye of Tsangzhen were all of a high level. Tsing Hui casually glanced at them and knew that unless he came to Infinite Wasteland region, he wouldn't be able to purchase 99% of the items. Cultivating at the Refinement God Pavilion requires 20 Tao rhythms. Cultivating at the Great Sun Core requires 13 Tao rhythms. The number of Tao rhythms that I can use is 55 points. After a while, Qing Su chose a high-grade 6th-grade God artifact that could be exchanged for 10 Wei's presents. A while later, he looked at a high-grade 6th-grade armor. Golden Flame Armor. This armor had been infused with stellar energy, and it could greatly increase the burning and annihilating effects of stellar energy. The majority of attacks that struck the armor would be annihilated by the flames, and even the enemy would be injured by its annihilating properties. To put it simply, if a boxing expert's fist hit the golden flame armor, the stellar energy attached to the gloves would be annihilated, and the gloves themselves would be annihilated. Even the boxing expert's arm would be burned, and there was a possibility that it would be annihilated. Although in terms of defense, it was only comparable to a 5th-level upper-grade armor, the fire attribute wasn't good at defense. He was satisfied with this effect. 15 Tao rhythms left. Tsing Hui calculated and looked down. However, among the divine weapons, there was nothing that caught his eye. In the end, he had to make do with a treasure that was related to speed. Just as he was about to make do, a special 6th-grade treasure that belonged to Zhangzhen the exalted cultivator attracted his attention. Yang devouring bead? Xing Hui took a closer look at the characteristics of the Yang devouring bead. It was a 6th-level upper-grade treasure, a replica of the Xianyang bead. After it was activated, it would form an enchantment that would be immune to fire damage of level 60 and below. It would also reduce fire damage of level 60 and above. Chapter 155. This treasure. Xing Hui's eyes lit up slightly. He originally planned to buy the 4th layer of the Great Sun Golden Crow technique if he really couldn't buy a suitable treasure. Although the price of the 1st layer was higher, he wouldn't be stuck in the spirit and chi unification stage because he didn't have a cultivation method. But now, with this treasure, the threat of the Jin Wu religion's attacks would be greatly reduced. In addition, the Hunyuan Heaven sect would soon join forces with the Jin Wu religion and the Green Lotus Sword sect to wipe out the overseas forces. He might be able to take advantage of a Jin Wu religion's expert who cultivated the Great Sun Golden Crow technique to obtain the follow-up cultivation method of the Great Sun Golden Crow technique from him. 20 Taoist rhymes. Xing Hui glanced at the price. It was beyond his expectations. However, there was still some time before he went to the core of the Great Sun. During this time, he would think of a way. He might even sell the high-grade 5th order Crimson Dragon sword in his hand. He might be able to obtain a treasure that contained 5 Taoist rhymes. He immediately made a decision. Venerable Master, this is the item I want to buy. Oh. Let me see. Venerable Master Zhangzhen took the jade booklet and glanced at it. He couldn't help but be surprised. It seems that you really made a small fortune. The value of the transaction this time is almost at the level of a chaotic level. Even I would have to spend decades to accumulate such a value of Taoist rhymes. I naturally can't compare with Venerable Master. Well, when do you want it? I'll find time to send it to you. Naturally, the sooner the better. The sooner the better. Venerable Master Zhangzhen moved his body slightly. Considering that he would have to borrow Xing Hui's cultivation at the core of the Great Sun in the future to meet his lover, he still smiled and said, "Okay, give me your spiritual imprint. I'll go over now. Anyway, there doesn't seem to be anything important that I need to do recently." "Thank you." Xing Hui gave a spiritual imprint to Venerable Master Zhangzhen. "I'll go get the items you need to exchange for. If I'm fast, I'll be at your location in half an hour. Go and wait." Xing Hui nodded and left the Primal Chaos Temple. He left Zhanlong City and stopped at a small mountain not far from Zhanlong City. It wasn't that Xing Hui was worried about the people in Dragon-slaying City. Rather, it was just that the dispersal of these top-tier experts' avatars would cause far too much of a commotion. Even the weakest of avatars would cause sand and stones to fly everywhere. He didn't wish for the abnormalities in his residence to arouse the suspicions of many cultivators. If that happened, they would associate him with the Son of Chaos and cause trouble for him. In less than half an hour, Xing Hui's heart skipped a beat. In the next moment, in the void in front of him, a spiritual pressure that was not that strong gradually condensed. Immediately after, the wind and clouds surged, and the Yuan Qi within a radius of several hundred meters was attracted by him, forming a gale. In the center of the gale, Zhangzhen, who was completely condensed from Yuan Qi, gradually took shape. I can't help but have a headache when I go back." Zhangzhen rubbed his forehead and said, "Every time I use the avatar technique, even if it's an ordinary avatar without any cultivation, it's equivalent to splitting my mind. For a long time, my mind will wither and I won't be able to concentrate on cultivation. It's easy to be distracted when doing things. Once a great enemy comes, because of my poor mental state, I won't be able to use 60% of my cultivation. If it weren't for the fact that you traded for more than 50 Dao rhymes, I really wouldn't have made this trip. Thank you for your hard work, Zhangzhen. Nuonyuo, your items." Zhang didn't say much to Tsing Hui. He directly took out a treasured sword that was quite similar to the Crimson Dragon's sword and a set of armor that seemed to be burning with flames. Golden Crow Sword, Golden Flame Armor, take a look. Tsing Hui took the Golden Crow Sword in his hand and poured his true qi into it. Suddenly, the Golden Crow Sword burst out with dazzling flames, and a Golden Crow shadow actually appeared. Its compatibility with his true qi was not inferior to the Crimson Dragon sword that was completely made by him. Although the Crimson Dragon sword was completely made by him, the materials used might not be compatible with his Golden Crow true qi. Even if there was no barrier between him and the sword itself, there was a flaw in the true qi's continuity. Although the Golden Crow sword in front of him was not made by him, it was completely made for his Golden Crow true qi. With its length compensated, it was even more convenient for him to use it than the Crimson Dragon sword. Holding the Golden Crow sword and sizing it up for a moment, Tsing Hui's eyes immediately turned to the Golden Flame Armor. The Golden Flame Armor was said to be an armor, but in fact, it was like a ball of burning flames, and even the shape of the armor could not be seen. Tier 4 armors could already be merged with Gang Qi, and the Tier 6 Golden Flame Armor was even more so. As Tsing Hui poured his true qi into the Golden Flame Armor, the Golden Flame Armor was like mercury, and completely merged with his true qi. Then, along with the true qi, it returned to his body and turned into a cluster of burning flames that stayed in his body. Then, with a thought, his Gang Qi was generated, and the surface of his Gang Qi was immediately covered with a layer of golden flames. This layer of golden flames was the power of annihilation contained in the Golden Flame Armor. With this layer of power of annihilation, ordinary Gang Qi cultivators, even if they were Spirit Qi cultivators, without the help of divine weapons, would be burned by this layer of golden flames before their attacks could even get close to his body. Well, what's so exciting about a Tier 6 armor? This is a real treasure. Kid, you have a good eye. Zhang took out the Yang Devouring Bead, and said with some nostalgia, the Yang Devouring Bead is an imitation of the Dazzling Sun Bead, but this one is not. This treasure was obtained when I was exploring with those old guys in the Firmament Realm. At that time, in our minds, this Yang Devouring Bead was a real divine object. Later on, when we obtained the even more amazing Dazzling Sun Bead, we used this Yang Devouring Bead as a blueprint and imitated a batch of similar treasures. And this Yang Devouring Bead gradually faded from the stage of history, and was only treated as a souvenir that I occasionally miss. I didn't expect you to have such a good eye to be able to pick it out from my hundreds and thousands of collections. After saying this, Zhang looked at Tsing Hui with a faint trace of approval in his eyes. However, what he did not know was that Tsing Hui did not even look at those collections above Tier 7, because he knew that he could not afford them. And with Zhang status and strength, how many items below Tier 7 could he possibly have? It was not strange for Tsing Hui to pick out the Yang Devouring Bead at a glance. Here you go. The biggest feature of the Yang Devouring Bead is that it relies on devouring fire attribute genuine qi to operate. The higher the amount of fire attribute genuine qi it devours, the better the immunity to fire attribute attacks. In short, as long as you start it up, you almost don't need to spend any genuine qi. As long as you wear it, you can be immune to fire attribute attacks below Tier 60. Of course, there is a limit to the immunity effect of the Yang Devouring Bead. Although it can also weaken fire attribute attacks above Tier 60, once it suffers too much damage, it will be damaged. Among the batch of Yang Devouring Beads we imitated, several were damaged because they withstood several fire attribute genuine qi attacks above Tier 70. Tsing Hui nodded, I will use it carefully. Good, the deal is done. I have to go back and rest. I will be dispirited for a long time. Fortunately, I have always been kind to others. Otherwise, it would be terrible if enemies came to kill me at this time. As Master Zhang spoke, he waved his hand. Immediately, his incarnation dissipated, and a violent storm of primordial qi swept out. Immediately, The sand and stones on the peak of the small mountain were sent flying. Even some small trees that were relatively close to the peak were uprooted. Xing Hui took the Golden Crow sword and Golden Flame armor back to Dragon Zhan City, and then re-entered the Chaos Temple. Every time a cultivator entered the Chaos Temple, they would appear in their own personal space. Those who did not have personal spaces would appear in the main hall of the Chaos Temple. Xing Hui quickly arrived at the mountain where the Refining God Pavilion was located in the Sky Dome realm. The so-called Refining God Pavilion was actually a 10-story tall pagoda. This pagoda was a strange item that the Sky Dome realm leader exchanged from the Chaos Treasure Pavilion. It was said that the price was extremely high. It was one of the few treasures in the entire Sky Dome realm that was on par with the core of the sun. There was a large hall outside the Refining God Pavilion. At this moment, there were many people gathered in groups of 3 to 5 in the hall. Xing Hui glanced at them and did not pay attention to them. He went straight to the application area of the Refining God Pavilion. Just as he was about to reach the application area, a voice rang out, "Miss Pak Hui." Xing Hui turned around and saw a handsome man in white clothes greeting him. Xing Hui thought for a moment and immediately remembered this person's identity, Miss Xia. It was a somewhat awkward title. Not long ago, Xing Hui met this person in Nalan Fei's personal space. This person, Jin Yu, and Nalan Fei seemed to be working together to gather 20 Daos and open the Refining God Pavilion to temper their souls. "Miss Pak Hui, are you here to apply to enter the Refining God Pavilion?" "That's right. Opening the Refining God Pavilion requires 20 Daos, which is not a small number. It usually requires several people to form a team. If Miss Pak Hui can't find a suitable team, why don't you come with us? We only have 3 people in our team, so there's no harm in adding Miss Pak Hui." Xia Tian smiled. Xing Hui was surprised by Xia Tian's enthusiasm, but he still said, "No need. The Daos I've accumulated over the years are just enough to open the Refining God Pavilion." "Is that so?" Xia Tian's eyes flashed with a trace of surprise. "I was rash. Then, I wish Miss Pak Hui a great improvement in her cultivation. Thank you for your auspicious words. Miss Qin Yu and I are good friends. Since Miss Qin Yu and Miss Pak Hui have a close relationship, we are relatives and are equivalent to family. We should interact more." Xing Hui immediately understood. Xia Tian probably had his eyes on Nalan Fei. Making friends with him was just a way to save the country. However, Xing Hui glanced at Xia Tian. This person had reached the 6th level of the longevity realm and cultivated a divine-grade battle body. His future was limitless. With his identity, what kind of woman could he not have? Why did he have a soft spot for Nalan Fei? Although Nalan Fei's appearance and temperament were excellent, he did not think that she was worth the attention of Xia Tian, a 6th level of the longevity realm with unlimited potential. There shouldn't be anything on Aunt Nalan that Xia Tian covets. Maybe Xia Tian really fell in love with Aunt Nalan at first sight. Xing Hui pondered for a moment and did not think much about it. He just replied, "If there's a chance, Pak Hui will visit. Then I'll be waiting for you." Xia Tian smiled and nodded. Chapter 156. Xing Hui arrived in front of the Refining God Pavilion and handed a jade token to the guard. This was the token that Zhangzhen Exalted Master gave him after he gave him the item that contained 20 years of Tao. The guard checked for a moment and quickly said, "Currently, the Refining God Pavilion is still in use, and there is still an application for the Refining God Pavilion waiting. You have to wait for 42 days before you can enter the Refining God Pavilion to temper your mind. The duration is 1 month. You can arrange it yourself. Do you want to wait in line or choose to open the Refining God Pavilion when you have time?" There's another application. Xing Hui estimated that it was Xia Tian, Jin Yu, and Nalan Fei. "I choose to wait in line." "Good. Give me your identity token." The guard accepted the identity medallion from Qing Su and handed it back after keying in some information. In 42 days, you can directly come find me with your identity medallion to open the Refining God Pavilion. I won't be waiting for you after that. Xing Hui nodded. After completing the application, he left the Sky Dome realm. 42 days left, Xing Hui muttered to himself. Unwilling to waste any more time, he summoned Madame Zhu Yu. From today onwards, use the soul-sucking bell with all your might and attack me. Yes. Madame Zhu Yu naturally knew Xing Hui's plan and respectfully agreed. In the following days, with the help of Madame Zhu Yu's soul-sucking bell, Xing Hui's mind was tempered again and again. In the beginning, the effects were obvious. In just 3 short days, his mental strength had increased from the 47th to the 48th level. However, as his mental strength reached the 48th level, the effects of the soul-drinking bell clearly decreased drastically. He only managed to push his mental strength to the 49th level after an entire month, and in the following days, the effects of the soul-drinking bell decreased once more. Qing Su tried to calculate it slightly and discovered to his surprise that it would take him 5 or 6 years at the very least to reach the 50th level of mental strength. Raising one spiritual level in 5 to 6 years wasn't slow, but it definitely wasn't fast either. However, to Xing Hui, who was pressed for time, this was unacceptable. In another 2 days, it will be the deadline to apply for the Refinement God Pavilion. The soul-absorbing bell's tempering effect on the mind can only be considered ordinary. I only hope that the effect of the Refinement God Pavilion, which costs 20 Taoist rhymes in the Sky Dome to use for a month, will not disappoint me. Xing Hui waved his hand and dismissed Madame Dogwood. Island Master. Not long after Madame Dogwood left, Dan Taiying hurriedly arrived outside Xing Hui's courtyard. There's news about the person you asked me to keep an eye on. The person I asked you to keep an eye out for. Xing Hui paused for a moment, then immediately thought of something. Dragon Shadow. Dragon Shadow's cooperation with a powerhouse suspected to be Lingyu had caused Blazing Glory to suffer a huge setback. Not only had his chi been crippled, but the tens of thousands of supreme-grade fire spirit stones that he had brought to the 100 Seas city for trade had all been taken away by the two of them. Xing Hui had always kept this matter in mind. Considering that Dragon Shadow seemed to be frequently active overseas, he had instructed Dan Taiying to keep an eye out for Dragon Shadow. He had been prepared to not receive any news for a long time, but who would have thought that Dragon Shadow would appear in the Shaoyang Ocean City in just a few months? Yes, that's him. He appeared in the Shaoyang Ocean City 3 days ago and is still there. Is there anyone traveling with him? This. I haven't found anyone yet, but he seems to be waiting for someone to trade with. All right. Xing Hui replied. I'll make a trip to the Shaoyang Ocean City. However, he had no choice but to suppress his thoughts for a moment. I'll be using the Refining God Pavilion in 2 days. It's not a good time to go out, considering that Dragon Shadow's cultivation was at the late stage of the unison of Divine Qi realm when he betrayed Dawn. Even if Yun Tao and Madame Zhu Yu worked together, they probably wouldn't be able to do anything to him. He had no choice but to suppress this matter. Pass down my orders. Keep an eye on him for now and don't alert him. When I finish my cultivation in a month, I'll make him understand the price he has to pay for swallowing tens of thousands of supreme-grade fire spirit stones. Yes, I'll make the arrangements right away. Dan Taiying replied respectfully. Your father hasn't broken through to the unison of Divine Qi realm yet? Xing Hui asked. There were too few experts on Dragon Slaying Island. My father has received your favor and become a son of chaos. His comprehension has been greatly enhanced, and he's currently comprehending the mysteries of the unison of Divine Qi realm. He's currently adjusting his condition and will probably break through to the unison of Divine Qi realm in the next month. Good. Although when you, Madame Zhu Yu, He Yan, and Yi Shao aren't high-ranking sons of chaos, they've inherited 2 or 3 sons of chaos. I'll bestow them to your father and Wu Yu. I hope they won't disappoint me. Xing Hui said slowly. The 4 sons of chaos slots were given to Dan Tating, Wu Yu, Dan Taiyu, and Xin Long's father, Long Xiao. Xing Hui didn't have high hopes for Dan Taiyu and Long Xiao. He was merely giving them an opportunity. After all, Dan Taiyu had saved his life, and Long Xiao's son, Xin Long, had chosen to lurk outside the Hunyuan Heaven sect to gather information for him. Although he hadn't sent any useful information over the past few days, he could be considered loyal. Xing Hui simply gave one of the sons of chaos slots to Long Xiao, allowing him to break through to the unison of true Qi realm. It was a reward for his son, Xin Long, Island Master. Please give my father and Chief Steward Wu a little more time. I believe that they only lack cultivation resources and opportunities. Island Master, you've provided them with all your strength. It won't be long before the 2 of them will advance to the stage of oneness of divine Qi and serve you again. Okay, go. Don't let longing escape. Yes. Dan Taiying acknowledged and left. 2 days passed quickly. When the time limit was up, Xing Hui arrived outside the Sky Dome Realm's Refining God Pavilion and waited in advance. At the same time, Xia Tian and Jin Yu, who were using the Refining God Pavilion, were also waiting. The 2 were surprised to see Xing Hui arrive. Xia Tian seemed to have thought of something and looked at Xing Hui in surprise. Miss Pak Hui, are you going to enter the Refining God Pavilion? Xing Hui nodded. Alone? Don't tell me you don't have a team. Jin Yu's beautiful eyes widened, constantly sizing up Xing Hui. I was lucky to obtain some Dao carrying items. That's why I was able to enjoy the Refining God Pavilion alone for a month. Young man, you have a bright future. I have high hopes for you. When will you bring me into the Refining God Pavilion? Jin Yu's eyes narrowed slightly as she smiled at Xing Hui. Next time, if there's a chance, I'll definitely call Miss Jin Yu. Miss, you're too distant. Although our Sky Dome realm is called the Primal Chaos Organization, it's actually equivalent to a sect. Since I entered the Sky Dome realm earlier than you, the 2 of us might as well call each other senior and junior brother. Junior brother Pak Hui, what do you think? Xing Hui saw that Jin Yu had already called him, so he didn't care about this small problem. As she wished, he called out, Senior Sister Jin Yu. In the future, we should keep in touch. In the future, if you cultivate to the Saint Realm and want to come to Heaven Wasteland, you must come find me. I will definitely do my best as a host. I will. Seeing that Jin Yu had easily improved her relationship with Xing Hui, Xia was about to speak, but at this moment, with a flash of light, Nalan Fei's figure appeared in the hall outside the Refining God Pavilion. Seeing Xing Hui, Jin Yu, and Xia, Nalan Fei was slightly startled. She immediately stepped forward and asked, what are you guys talking about? We're talking about when you'll come to Heaven Wasteland so that we can have a chance to receive you. Xia said with a smile, her smile filled with the aura of a spring breeze. It's still early, at least a few decades. However, for us cultivators, a few decades won't take long. As long as we persevere in cultivation and don't encounter any accidents on the way, one day we'll be able to condense true essence and cultivate to the Saint Realm. We'll truly meet in Heaven Wasteland. I've been looking forward to it for a long time. Xia said with a smile. Alright, junior brother Pak Hui, hurry up and go. 20 Dao rhymes can only open the Refining God Pavilion for 30 days. Time is very precious, don't miss it. Jin Yu urged. Xing Hui nodded and said, then I'll take my leave. With that, he walked towards the guards outside the Refining God Pavilion. It seems that this junior brother Pak Hui is very rich. Xia looked at Xing Hui's departing figure and said thoughtfully. Nalan Fei was also surprised that Xing Hui could open the Refining God Pavilion by himself. However, considering that Xing Hui had asked her about the Dark Night not long ago, she understood something. Pak Hui's opportunity is better than mine. In terms of potential, she's probably above me. However, we don't need to envy others. Everyone has their own path. As long as we persevere, there's hope to see the scenery of the peak. Qin Yu has a good attitude. Alright, we've just experienced the cultivation of the refining God Pavilion and need to go into seclusion to consolidate. Let's not gather here and chat. Quickly go back into seclusion. Alright. This is Xia's good intentions. Qin Yu said with a smile. Nalan Fei also smiled. We're now in the golden age of cultivation. Cultivation is more important. Yes, cultivation is more important. Let's go back into seclusion. The few of them chatted for a while more before returning to their respective places. At this time, Tsing Hui was also led towards the Refining God Pavilion by the guards. The Refining God Pavilion contains the sword intent, fist intent, saber intent, and spear intent inscribed by countless experts in Heaven's vault. It is used to temper the mind of cultivators, and the Refining God Pavilion's function is to protect your mind. No matter what kind of impact your mind receives, it will always be able to prevent your true soul from dispersing. Moreover, there is a large amount of primordial spirit qi in the Refining God Pavilion, which is extremely effective in healing mental injuries. Even if your mind is severely damaged, you will be able to recover quickly. In fact, the reason why the Refining God Pavilion requires 20 Tao rhymes is because the primordial spirit qi is very expensive. 20 Tao rhymes is actually only enough to maintain the balance of the Refining God Pavilion. The guards led Tsing Hui to the Refining God Pavilion, explaining in detail to Tsing Hui along the way. Primordial spirit qi, Tsing Hui had heard of this before. It was indeed extremely precious and was often priceless. It was monopolized by large organizations. There are dozens of treasures in the Refining God Pavilion that contain martial intent. After you enter, activate them with your martial intent. Those treasures will naturally exert pressure on you and temper your mind. When you want to rest, withdraw your mind. Alright, I won't waste your time. Go in. With that, the guards waved their hands and opened the doors of the Refining God Pavilion. Thank you. Tsing Hui bowed and stepped into the Refining God Pavilion. Chapter 157. Hiss. As soon as he set foot in the Refinement God Pavilion, Qin Su immediately felt like he had established a mysterious connection with the Refinement God Pavilion, as if he had become one with it. At the same time, he felt extremely happy mentally. The entire Refining God Pavilion was filled with a faint purple fog. This purple fog was the extremely precious primordial spirit qi. With this primordial spirit qi, one's mental energy could be quickly recovered. In addition, the cultivator's mental energy was integrated with the Refining God Pavilion, allowing one to squeeze out the limits of one's mental energy without worrying about a mental breakdown. Tsing Hui carefully sensed the magical effects of the primordial spirit qi on his divine soul. Only then did he carefully examine the Refining God Pavilion. Just as the guard had said, the Refining God Pavilion was filled with a large number of items. These items were either swords, sabers, spears, or jade armor. They were all different. Each item contained the martial will of a certain top-notch almighty. Tsing Hui scanned through them one by one. There were a total of 12 divine weapons that contained sword will. Among them, there were 2 divine weapons that contained sword will that was vast and magnificent, like the sun in the sky, shining in all directions. Tsing Hui carefully looked at the descriptions of these 2 divine weapons. He immediately stopped in front of a golden sword. This was the divine weapon of one of the 4 great founders of the Heaven Vault Empire, who was also the core provider of the sun, Zhu Zhao exalted. Zhu Zhao was the Zhu Sun, or the Zhu Dragon, the true god of the sun. Unlike the golden crow, there was a corresponding divine beast called Nether Glow. However, compared to the divine beast Torch Dragon, Nether Glow was even more mysterious. If the existence of the torch dragon was traceable, then Nether Glow had become a legend long before the Divine Wilderness era. I didn't expect Zhu Zhao Exalted to awaken the Zhu dragon bloodline. When I have the chance in the future, I can read his cultivation notes. Xing Hui muttered to himself. However, although he cultivated both the Aurora Dragon bloodline and the Golden Crow bloodline, the Crimson Yang Qi condensed from the Aurora Dragon bloodline was inferior to the Blazing Golden Crow bloodline. It was not as useful as the Golden Crow bloodline in a fight, so the Crimson Yang Qi that he had naturally awakened was surpassed by the Golden Crow bloodline. In terms of offense, the Great Sun Golden Crow technique is obviously more suitable. In order to prevent the Torch Dragon bloodline from gradually deteriorating and eventually being devoured by the Great Sun Golden Crow, from today onwards, in terms of mental tempering, I will use the Torch Dragon's Divine Soul as the main focus. With the Torch Dragon's Divine Soul as the foundation, I will comprehend Exalted Jinzhao's sword will to temper my mental spirit. Then, I will use the Golden Crow's Divine Soul to refine my Qi and cultivate the Great Sun Golden Crow technique for external combat. Immediately, Xing Hui sat cross-legged under the divine weapon of Reverend Zhu Zhao. A sword intent directly shot into the divine weapon left behind by Reverend Zhu Zhao, activating the sword intent within. Boom! The moment esteemed being Candlelight's sword intent was activated, a terrifying light that was so dazzling that it could almost destroy one's mind exploded in his spiritual world. For a moment, his vision was filled with endless light, and everything that entered his eyes was white. In this vast expanse of whiteness, the meaning of life, space, and time seemed to have been erased. Because of the existence of reference objects, people knew the meaning of space, time, and their own lives. Once the surroundings turned into a white void, there was no object, no taste, no sound, and no sense of perception. Humans could not tell whether they were human or not. They could not distinguish the meaning of space, and could not understand the concept of time. Time flew by. In this white and nothingness, Xing Hui felt that the meaning of his existence was completely exiled. This kind of nothingness, where there was no up, down, around, past, or present, was far more painful than being confined. Gradually, he began to become irritable. He wanted to shout, but there was no object to transmit his sound waves. He wanted to destroy wantonly, but there was no object to transmit his destructive power in the white nothingness. He ran forward, backward, and recklessly, but without any reference. He couldn't even tell if he was running or if he was standing still, or if what was running was his mind or his body. After an unknown period of time, a terrifying roar exploded in his spiritual world. In the next moment, the environment of the Refinement God Pavilion appeared in his senses. However, even though his surroundings had become the Refinement God Pavilion, Xing Hui's eyes were still unfocused. He stared blankly in front of him, as if he could not sense the outside world. It was only when the purple mist-like primordial spirit's qi continuously seeped into his spiritual world and healed his mental injuries that he suddenly shuddered. He could not help but reveal a trace of fear in his eyes. He understood, just now, he had a mental breakdown. However, due to the special environment of the Refinement God Pavilion, the moment he had a mental breakdown, he forcefully withdrew from comprehending Reverend Zhu Zhao's sword intent. Phew! Xing Hui let out a long breath and relaxed his mind to his heart's content. He guided the primordial spirit's qi to heal his mental injuries. After a long time, he finally regained his senses. There was a trace of fear in his eyes when he glanced at Reverend Zhu Zhao's divine weapon. However, the fear did not last for long before he forcefully suppressed it. Reverend Zhu Zhao's sword intent, it was very strange. It did not have the blazing fury of the Great Sun Golden Crow, nor did it have the vast brilliance of Sword Master by Heng's sword intent. What it brought to him was an impact that isolated his senses. Yes, it isolated his senses. The power brought about by the sword intent made him unable to sense himself, space, or time. It was simply unprecedented. However, for some reason, he felt that the sword intent was extremely compatible with his Torch Dragon bloodline. In fact, The compatibility was much higher than the comprehension that Sword Master Bai Heng left in his spiritual world. It was as if the sword intent left behind by Reverend Zhu Zhao was the correct direction for the evolution of the Torch Dragon bloodline. After a while, Xing Hui's eyes gradually became determined. He split his mind again and activated Reverend Zhu Zhao's sword intent. In the Sky Dome realm, a man in a long robe who looked to be in his 30s or 40s seemed to have sensed something. He paused in his deduction of the chessboard. Zhu Zhao. In front of him, an old man who was also deducing the chessboard spoke. At the same time, he placed a chess piece. What can distract you? Nothing. It's just that the light coagulation sword that I left in the Refinement God Pavilion has been activated. Light coagulation sword? The old man was slightly stunned. Then, he seemed to have thought of something. A strange expression appeared on his face. Is it the path that you left behind back then? Yes. Zhu Zhao said with a trace of regret on his face, when the Sky Dome realm was first established, danger was everywhere. In order to cultivate the divine ability as soon as possible, I had no choice but to give up this path that seemed more promising to me. I chose to follow the old path of the predecessors and charge into the divine ability realm. All these years, I've been very regretful, so I condensed my incomplete path into sword intent and injected it into the light coagulation sword. I left it in the Refinement God Pavilion to wait for the fated person. Unfortunately, there are very few people who have awakened the Torch Dragon bloodline, and those who are willing to find another way are even rarer. For more than 1,000 years, even though there have been people who have tried to comprehend the sword intent in the light coagulation sword, very few of them have been able to persevere. The old man sighed when he heard Zhu Zhao mention this matter. You are the one with the highest talent among us. You are also the #1 expert in our Sky Dome Empire. You are the stabilizing force of our domain. Without you, our Sky Dome Empire would not be what it is today. With your talent, if you continue to walk down that path, you might really have the hope of opening up an unprecedented cultivation path. Let's not talk about the past. Let's think about how to solve this chessboard. Only by solving this chessboard can we enter that sacred cave. Zhu Zhao said. The old man nodded, and the two of them once again focused on the chessboard in front of them. However, after half a day, Zhu Zhao's figure paused again, and a trace of surprise appeared on his face. The old man's heart skipped a beat as if he had thought of something. He suddenly waved his hand, and the image of the God Refining Pavilion immediately appeared in front of him. As the master of the Sky Dome realm, he had the ability to see through every part of the Sky Dome realm. He actually activated your light coagulation sword for the second time. In the past 1,000 years, there have been 14 people who tried to comprehend the sword intent of the light coagulation sword. However, after knowing how strange and terrifying the sword intent of the light coagulation sword was, only 3 people tried to comprehend it again. He's the 4th. Zhu Zhao nodded. Let me see, the old man, Sky Dome Master, quickly looked up Xing Hui's information. After a short while, he seemed to have found something interesting. Zhu Zhao, guess what I found? This little guy called Pak Hui joined the Sky Dome realm from Zi Zhao's hands, and then Song Zhen entered him. However, according to the records, he awakened the bloodline of the Golden Crow. Dual Meridian Cultivator. Zhu Zhao frowned. Dual Meridian Cultivator is not bad, but without enough resources, it won't be easy to cultivate. Since he's a member of our Celestial Dome sect, it's only right for us elders to give him some guidance. Zhu Zhao, you have the fewest disciples among us, only 4. I can see that he has cultivated 2 divine beast bloodlines and cultivated 2 divine grade gang cheese. His potential isn't weak. Do you want to take him in? The path that you didn't take back then might appear on him. Sky Dome Master said. Zhu Zhao looked at Xing Hui in the image and pondered for a moment before saying, let's wait and see. If he really wants to walk down this path, I'll find an opportunity to personally test his character. If his character passes, haha, that's good. Don't mention this to others for now, especially Zhang, understood? If Zhang knows, then all of us in the Sky Dome realm will know. At that time, won't we be causing trouble for this little guy? Don't worry, I understand. Zhu Zhao nodded. At this time, Xing Hui did not know that because he kept using the light-condensing sword to temper his spirit, he had caught the attention of Zhu Zhao master. He was still facing the torture of the light-condensing sword again and again. 1 day, 3 days, 10 days, 15 days, 20 days, Xing Hui activated the sword essence of the light-condensing sword again and again, and then his spirit broke down again and again. A month's time quietly passed. Chapter 158. Time, space, and even life are just corresponding entities. If there is no corresponding object, space can't be called time. If there is no corresponding object, time can't be called time. Even life itself can't be called life if there is no corresponding object for reference and comparison. Xing Hui was enlightened. This was the answer he obtained after tempering the sword intent of the light condensation sword for an entire month. Now, a month had passed. Xing Hui glanced at the mental strength level of his humanoid model. 53rd level. It had increased by 4 levels. 4 levels in a month. The efficiency was not bad. Even if he had to pay 20 Dao runes. However, what really made Xing Hui's trip worthwhile was the many insights he obtained when his sword intent constantly collided with the sword intent of the light condensation sword. These insights gave him a new direction for the future cultivation of the Torch Dragon bloodline. The Torch Dragon was known as the Great Sun True God. However, under the influence of Sword Master Bai Heng and the Torch Sun Sutra, he actually used the Torch Dragon bloodline as the Golden Crow bloodline. He only valued the Crimson Sun True Qi condensed from the Torch Dragon bloodline. However, in reality, in terms of destructive power, the Crimson Sun True Qi was inferior to the Golden Crow True Qi, and its power could not be compared to the Golden Crow True Qi. With the Golden Crow True Qi, the Crimson Sun True Qi condensed from the Torch Dragon bloodline had become a little awkward. The insights brought by the light condensation sword gave him a new direction for the evolution of the Torch Dragon bloodline. A direction about time and space. If the Torch Dragon bloodline could really evolve in that direction, he believed that the magic of the Torch Dragon bloodline would not be inferior to the Golden Crow bloodline in the end. In fact, it was even better. Finished cultivating. Outside the God Refinement Pavilion, the guard looked at Xing Hui and said with a smile. The God Refinement Pavilion is indeed worthy of its reputation. Xing Hui said. After a moment, he thought of the mysterious stone pillar in the ancestral land of the 10,000 Swords Mountain. The mental strength level of 53 should be able to give it a try. However, for safety's sake. I wonder if the primordial spirit Qi in the Refining God Pavilion can be sold. Yuan spirit Qi has always been priceless. We don't have a lot of Yuan spirit Qi in the Heaven's Dome Pavilion either. Even though it usually costs 10 Dao rhymes per square meter in the Chaos Treasure Pavilion, there might not be anyone willing to sell it even if you raise the price to 15 Dao rhymes. When Xing Hui heard this, he couldn't help but feel a little regretful. Although Yuan spirit Qi can only be exchanged in the Primal Chaos Treasure Pavilion, there are some cave dwellings from the Divine Desolate era that have been passed down. If you really need it urgently, you can try those ancient cave dwellings. If you are lucky, Yuan spirit Qi, storage rings, divine weapons, ancient techniques, blood essence of divine beasts, you can have everything you want. As the guardian spoke, a smile appeared on his face. My younger sister is a son of chaos who specializes in raising the luck attribute. When we bring her along when we go out on a treasure hunt, not only will the danger be greatly reduced, but we'll also be able to return with a full harvest every time. I don't intend to take the lucky route. When the guard heard this, he shrugged slightly with a helpless expression on his face. Seeing this, Tsing Hui didn't waste any more time. After bidding farewell to the guardian, he left the Chaos Temple. After cultivating in the Refinement God Pavilion for a month, he needed time to consolidate his foundation. In the blink of an eye, another 10 days passed. In these 10 days, not only did he completely consolidate his mental state, but he also completely recovered his mental state. Ask Dan Taiying to wait for me in the living room. Tsing Hui said to the door. Yes. The guard quickly left after receiving the order. When Tsing Hui came to the living room after tidying himself up, Dan Taiying was already waiting there. When he saw Tsing Hui, he hurriedly bowed respectfully. Island Master. Did anything happen on Dragon Slaying Island during this period? Nothing major. My father, on the other hand, finally stepped into the Divine Energy Integration realm half a month ago. Oh. He finally reached the Divine Energy Integration realm. That's good news. When Tsing Hui heard this, he nodded slightly. After a while, he continued to ask, is Dragon Shadow still under surveillance? This, Tsing Hui frowned. Why? You lost him? Yes. Island Master, please punish me. Dan Taiying hurriedly lowered his head and asked for forgiveness. What exactly happened? About 20 days ago, our subordinate who was in charge of keeping an eye on Dragon Shadow did not make any news. Although we sent 2 groups of people to investigate, one of which was led by 2 spirit refining cultivators, without exception, it was like a clay ox entering the sea. There was no news from Shaoyang Sea City for the past 10 days. The people who were monitoring Dragon Shadow were discovered. Moreover, the people who were sent out were all captured. Tsing Hui muttered to himself. Immediately, he thought of something and his expression sank. The first group of people who were monitoring Dragon Shadow betrayed Dragon Slaying Island. Because of this, the following groups suffered heavy losses. That's most likely the case. It's all my fault for not doing my job well. Qing Su closed his eyes and carefully thought about Dragon Shadow's motives for the series of events. Logically speaking, after Dragon Shadow knew that he was being monitored, he would change his appearance and hide after killing the people who were monitoring him. Why would he stay in Shaoyang Sea City and kill the 2 groups of people sent by Dan Taiying? In the next moment, Tsing Hui suddenly thought of something. He needed those people to investigate Dragon Slaying Island. Spirit Refining Realm is already considered high level. Tsing Hui's eyes flashed. Our Dragon Slaying Island has been targeted by Dragon Shadow. Dragon Slaying Island has been targeted by Dragon Shadow? Tan Tai-yin was slightly startled. Even though Long Ying is an expert in the late stage of the Divine Qi Unison realm, the Island Lord killed Wen Yu, He Yen, Yi Shao, and Madame Zhu Yu consecutively. If Long Ying knew that we were looking for him, he should have left as soon as possible. Why would he dare to lay low and attack our Dragon Slaying Island instead? Dragon Shadow alone naturally wouldn't have the courage to attack Dragon Slaying Island. However, if we count the people behind Dragon Shadow, that might not be the case. Tsing Hui immediately sorted out his thoughts and said, if I didn't guess wrongly, Dragon Shadow should have already arrived at Dragon Slaying Island. Have any unfamiliar faces come to Dragon Slaying Island recently? This Dragon Slaying Island can be considered a big island in this sea area. Every day, there are tens of thousands of people entering and leaving the island. No matter how precise a Spirit Qi Unity cultivator's control of his own strength is, he can't hide his true Qi fluctuation. Therefore, those who are above the Spirit Qi Unity realm and rarely come out, keep an eye on them. Collect all the suspicious information they have. Do it immediately. I want to know how many experts they have. Yes. Dan Taiying's heart trembled. He understood the seriousness of the problem and quickly retreated. The scene of me killing the Dragon Whale Island Master was witnessed by many people. At that time, there were probably people who guessed that I was a high-level son of chaos who had divine arts, plus the series of events that followed, Xinghui guessed. Dragon Shadow and the others had obviously regarded him as a new prey. If a son of chaos of rank 10 and above could be captured alive and interrogated, it wouldn't be difficult to sell dozens of Daoist rhymes. Just as Xinghui was investigating Dragon Shadow's whereabouts, a loud and clear cry suddenly came from the mountainside of a volcano tens of thousands of kilometers inland from Dragon-Slaying Island. In the next moment, a dazzling golden crow appeared, emitting the dazzling radiance of the sun. It covered the courtyard at the foot of the mountain and dyed the entire courtyard a golden color. When the golden crow dissipated, a few young women wearing revealing clothes came to the courtyard and sincerely congratulated the beautiful figure in the courtyard. "Congratulations, miss, your earth energy has reached large success. From now on, you will be invincible in the spirit refining realm." The door of the courtyard opened and Lai Wuyang, who was wearing a fiery red dress, strode out of the room. Ruoying, Shi Yang, Lan Li, Lai Wuyang's gaze swept across the three women in front of her. These three women were all in the realm of syncretism of spirit and qi, and they had all cultivated spiritual genuine qi. Ever since disciplined King Liesi learned that she had almost died in the coastal waters, he had sent them here to protect her. "Miss, the news you asked us to pay attention to has taken shape." Lai Wuyang suddenly thought of something and her eyes flashed with shame and anger. That little thief. Yes. That little thief who dared to take advantage of Miss Ruoying said. Losing the Great Sun Golden Crow technique was of great importance. Even if Lai Wuyang was the daughter of the Jin Wu religion's Shakyamuni and had recently become the saintess of the Jin Wu religion, she did not dare to easily leak this matter out. Thus, to the outside world, she only announced that Xinghui had taken advantage of her. According to the clues provided by the young miss, we immediately set our sights on Colored Glass Island and deduced that the thief was a guest invited by the island master of Colored Glass Island. His name is Qing Su, but this person called Qing Su is no longer on Colored Glass Island. He went to Dragon Whale Island and killed the island master, becoming the new master of Dragon Whale Island. He changed the name of Dragon Whale Island to Dragon Slaying Island. Dragon Whale Island Master. I seem to have heard of him before. A Spirit Chi Unity Realm Cultivator. This little thief actually has the ability to kill a Spirit Chi Unity Realm Cultivator. That's right. Lai Wuyang's beautiful face carried a chilling coldness, so what if he has the ability to kill a Spirit Chi Unity Realm Cultivator? My divine grade cosmic chi has reached the large success stage. Ordinary Spirit Chi Unity Realm cultivators may not be my match. Thus, even if he has the achievement of killing a Spirit Chi Unity Realm cultivator, I still have to personally kill him. Otherwise, it will be difficult to dispel the hatred in my heart. Miss, you can't. Dragon Whale Island is 40,000 kilometers away from the sea. With Miss's identity, it's very likely that you will encounter some fugitives. At that time, So what if it's 40,000 kilometers? Lai Wuyang sneered. If I remember correctly, our Jin Wu religion is currently working together with the Hunyuan Heavenly Sect, Green Lotus Sword Sect, and Limitless Sword Sect to conduct a large-scale sweep of the sea, right? Ruoying and the others looked at each other and hesitated for a moment before nodding. This is indeed so. All right then, I'll go find Shakyamuni and ask him to influence the direction of the Jin Wu religion sweep to slightly shift the direction of Dragon Slaying Island. When the time comes, our Jin Wu religion's experts will surround him and make it impossible for him to escape. Chapter 159. In a small town in less than 20 kilometers away from Dragon Slaying City. On this day, two new guests arrived. The two guests arrived at the inn and went straight to the third room. There, a man dressed in luxurious clothes who looked like a merchant had been waiting for them for a long time. If Yan Huang were here at this moment, he would definitely be able to immediately recognize that this luxuriously dressed man was the traitor Dragon Shadow who had caused Dawn to suffer a great loss of vitality, losing dozens of Taoist rhymes, and losing dozens of Sons of Chaos. In front of him were a young man and a young woman who had just arrived. One was the nominal leader of Dawn, Lingyu, and the other was also somewhat famous in the circle of Sons of Chaos in the Eastern Wasteland, nicknamed Tianbao. You two are finally here. Seeing the two of them, Dragon Shadow smiled. This time, it's a big deal. Oh. Dragon Shadow, I rushed over as soon as I heard the news. A Son of Chaos who is only in the Aura Chi realm but has divine arts, is this true? Tianbao asked. We've worked together more than once or twice. When have I ever lied to you? Hee, I'm just a little curious. Divine arts are the dividing line for Sons of Chaos. Those who have divine arts and those who don't are two completely different concepts. A Son of Chaos who has divine arts and is only in the spirit refining realm, who is at least rank 10 and has divine arts, would you have taken action as soon as you found out? Why would you wait for me? After all, although the divine technique can raise a person's cultivation by a realm, it is still lacking by half a notch when compared to a cultivator of that realm. Even if he is at the peak of the spirit refining realm, he is still lacking by a notch when compared to you who is at the late stage of unity of spirit and chi. Peak of spirit refining realm. Our goal this time is indeed to reach the peak of spirit refining realm. Dragon Shadow paused for a moment. However, he's not at the peak of spirit refining realm with ordinary aura chi, but the peak of divine grade aura chi. Divine grade aura chi. Tianbao and Lingyu's expressions changed. You're saying that he has cultivated divine grade aura chi. Are you sure you're not mistaken? It's divine grade and not divine grade. Lingyu asked in a deep voice. It's true, it's divine grade gang chi. Dragon Shadow said, there's no need for me to explain the power of divine grade gang chi. A person with divine grade gang chi perfection stage combat strength is not inferior to an ordinary cultivator at the late stage of spirit and chi unification stage. Coupled with the divine technique, it's not difficult for him to match a cultivator at the middle stage of green hell realm. Especially according to my investigation, this kid has a divine weapon in his hand. It's at least a divine weapon of medium level 5, or even a divine weapon of high level 5. In addition, he also has a flying sword that allows him to move freely. Divine tier stellar energy, a Son of Chaos above the 10th order, a 5th order high-grade divine weapon, and a flying sword. Could it be that this brat is an expert secretly nurtured by some great power? Despite the greed in Celestial Bao's eyes, he remained calm. In their line of work, the most important thing was to have good judgment. Otherwise, once they offended someone they couldn't afford to offend, it would inevitably lead to disaster. That's impossible. Dragon Shadow confidently said, I've already used my own channels of information and the Pavilion of Divination to investigate this boy's background. His name is Zhua Qingshu, and he's just a disciple of a remote and small clan. He was originally unknown, but 2 years ago, he suddenly exploded and soared into the sky. Moreover, in just 2 short years, he has cultivated to the realm of perfected divine grade gang chi. If my guess is correct, he must have obtained the legacy of a high-ranking Son of Chaos at that moment and relied on the power of that legacy to achieve his current achievements. Oh. Couldn't he have been secretly taken in as a disciple by some great master? That's impossible. After obtaining the inheritance of a Son of Chaos, that brat became arrogant and arrogant. He considered everyone beneath him and offended many experts. One of them was the primal chaos heaven sect's true disciple, Bai Yu. It was Bai Yu who forced him to leave his home and flee overseas. If he really had some great master backing him, how could he not be able to suppress a true disciple of the primal chaos heaven sect? Very good. Perfect divine grade gang chi and a 5th order high grade divine weapon. No wonder you feel so helpless. While he's using the divine art, even if the 3 of us work together, we'll only be able to gain the upper hand. Coupled with the fact that he has a flying sword, it won't be easy to ensure that he doesn't escape. Celestial Bao immediately believed Dragon Shadow's words. That's right. So, I'll have to trouble your Excellency Celestial Bao with your treasure will boundary. As long as your Excellency Celestial Bao can trap him while he's using the divine art, once his divine art's time is up, he'll naturally be a turtle in a jar. Celestial Bao realized his own importance and immediately began to return the money. That brat has a 5th level upper grade divine weapon, and it can be said to be very sharp. Although my treasure will barrier has reached the 6th level, his 5th level divine weapon and the power of the divine art can still cause damage to my treasure will barrier. When the time comes, it will not be a small sum to repair it. Therefore, after we capture this brat alive, I want 60% of his spoils of war, and 60% of the profits from the sale of his primal chaos divine weapon. 60%. Ling Yu's expression turned cold. Your primal chaos grade hasn't reached the 10th order. Although you're at the advanced stage of divine chi unity, even if Tsing Hui's divine art's time is up, you still may not be able to defeat him in a head-on fight. Even if you can win, how can you guarantee that he won't escape and that you'll capture him alive? So, the final victor will still be me. So, you can only take 30% of the profits. Dragon Shadow will provide 30% of the information, and I'll take 40%. 30%. That's impossible. Celestial Bao retorted without even thinking. Without my treasure will boundary, how can you survive the time limit of his divine art? What if you guarantee that he won't escape? How about this? Since we're acquaintances, I'll take a step back. I'll take 50%, and the two of you can discuss how to split the remaining 50%. 50% is too much. Ling Yu shook her head. Just as she was about to say something, a voice came from outside. Before you discuss how to split the profits, have you thought about whether I, the person involved, would agree? When the voice rang out, the 3 divine chi unity experts who were discussing how to split the profits in the room immediately paled. Who's there? Sneaking around, get out here. Bang! A moment later, a burst of gang chi erupted, instantly obliterating the wall where the 3 of them were and where the voice had come from. However, before this burst of gang chi could continue its destruction, a wave of energy swept out and dispelled the power that followed. Whoosh! A gentle breeze blew past and blew away the dust. Behind the shattered wall, Qing Su, Madame Zhu Yu, Yun Tao, and Tan Tai Ting, the 3 Unity of Divine Chi Realm experts, slowly stepped into the room. Dawn's traitor, Dragon Shadow. Tsing Hui's gaze immediately fell on Dragon Shadow. He paused for a moment, then turned his gaze to the graceful woman. If I'm not wrong, this should be the leader of Dawn, Lady Feather Moon. 6 years ago, Lady Feather Moon and Lord Dragon Shadow put on a good show, capturing almost all of Dawn's Class 5 and above Sons of Chaos who trusted you. Tsing Hui's words caused Ling Yu's pupils to shrink. In the next moment, her eyes turned cold. It was clear that she was determined to kill Tsing Hui. You're our prey this time, Tsing Hui. Tian Bao, on the other hand, fearlessly glanced at Madame Dogwood, Yun Tao, and the others behind Tsing Hui. You think you can fight against us with just these pieces of trash? Who gave you the courage? Blazing Glory has long since pledged allegiance to me and become my subordinate. Dragon Shadow, Ling Yu, the 2 of you crippled his true energy and stole over 10,000 peerless grade fire spirit stones that belonged to me. Today, it's time for you to pay the price. We, attack. Before Qing Su had even finished speaking, Ling Yu had already bellowed out. Afterwards, she leapt up, and a slender sword stabbed over like a startled swan. As the sword light tore through space, it actually did not cause any ripples in the air at all, making the attack silent and unpredictable. Ding dong! The moment Ling Yu drew her sword, Madame Dogwood immediately rang the soul-sucking bell in her hand. The sound of the bell spread out, causing Ling Yu's body to falter for a moment. The sword light was also somewhat scattered. Although she immediately got rid of the soul-sucking bell's influence, the trajectory of the sword was clearly displayed in front of Tsing Hui. Clang! The sword light appeared. The moment he drew the green ruined sword, he used the divine technique at the same time. Under the amplification of the divine technique, it was like a scorching sun had appeared behind him, rising up slowly. When it reached its peak, it suddenly exploded. Endless light and heat rushed out in all directions with the explosion of the sun, reducing many of the rooms on the second floor of the inn to ashes in a single moment. As the golden crow sword stabbed out, the scorching sun swept over, forming an aura that felt like the end of the world, like a falling star. Great Sun Golden Crow Technique. Quick. Tian Bao. Treasured Will Boundary. Ling Yu could sense the suffocating, terrifying power from the green ruined sword. She bellowed out and attempted to retreat. At the same time, a protective talisman suddenly appeared on her, but it was obliterated by the destructive pressure of the golden crow sword in the next moment. However, this protective talisman was personally created by a blue netherworld realm expert, and it exploded with enough power to stop the golden crow sword in Tsing Hui's hand for a moment. The destructive aura also paused for a moment. Tian Bao took advantage of this opportunity to activate his treasured will boundary. Immediately, Tsing Hui seemed to be isolated in another dimension. The blazing aura that had destroyed most of the inn disappeared without a trace. Hurry up and finish off these 3 small fries. Then we'll focus on Tsing Hui. Ling Yu shouted to Dragon Shadow beside her. She flew up and was about to rush into Madame Zhuyu, Yun Tao, and Dan Tating to kill them all. However, at this moment, Tian Bao, who had trapped Tsing Hui in his treasured will boundary, seemed to have sensed something. His expression changed drastically. Oh no! This brat's attack is too strong. My treasured will boundary can't stop his attack. The sword in his hand is not just a mid-grade 5th level, high-grade 5th level, or even 6th level. 6th level. He's holding a high-grade 6th level divine weapon. My treasured will boundary can't trap him anymore. Rip. Accompanied by the sound of silk tearing, a scorching heat wave once again spread through the ruins of the inn. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.